Chapter 2676. Yuning nodded shyly, but she didn't break free. In fact, in her heart, she was willing to do anything with Lin Yi, but because of the plan, Yuning couldn't dedicate herself. But holding hands and kissing Lin Yi, she could accept it. Lin Yi naturally pulled Yuning out of the room, and then the two took the elevator downstairs. Outside the hotel, Yuning was blown by the cold wind outside, but she was sober. Lin Yi, how did you get here so quickly? Weren't you in Songshan? In Yuning's impression, she was still in Songshan when Lin Yi was in Songshan. When Lin Yi went to Donghai City, she basically lost contact with the outside world, so she didn't know that Lin Yi went to Donghai City. I am now at Donghai City University. Lin Yi said, I rushed here, of course, someone told me. I will tell you, don't tell others.
NN.
Yuning nodded quickly. Lin Yi wanted her to keep the secret. She naturally couldn't speak casually. It's Zhao Qibing's follower. He is actually my man, Lin Yi said.
Ah.
You have already placed your men in the hidden Zhao family? Yuning looked at Lin Yi with surprise. In fact, the hidden Yu family also has them. Lin Yi smiled. But these are not important. I will send you back first. Okay. On the one hand, Yuning was amazed by the strength of Lin Yi's ability. On the other hand, she felt that Lin Yi had too many enemies. Lin Yi had placed his men in these families. Didn't that mean that his relationship with these families was hostile? So Yuning couldn't help but worry. Did you offend these families? I can't say that I offended them. They are against me. I can't do anything about it. Lin Yi shrugged and took Lin Yi to a secluded place near the hotel. Yuning was somewhat puzzled. Why did Lin Yi bring her here? Just as he was about to ask, he saw Lin Yi wave his hand, and a strange spirit beast charged over. Yuning lived in a hidden family. Naturally, she was no stranger to spirit beasts. She even had a spirit beast of her own. She had brought it with her since she was a child. But this spirit beast was fine, but during this time, it was inexplicably sick. It looked like it was seriously injured. Yuning was very worried, but there was nothing she could do. After all, no one in the hidden House Yu knew how to raise a spirit beast. The old ancestor of House Yu saw the spirit beast's condition and didn't say anything, so Yuning didn't know what to do. Spirit beast? Yuning's spirit beast was much smaller than the purple thunder beast, but it did not prevent Yuning from recognizing that the purple thunder beast was a spirit beast. Yeah, its name is Little Feng and it's very fast. That's why I could come here so quickly from East Ocean City, Lin Yi said. So you have a spirit beast. Yuning was even more surprised. She didn't expect that when she met Lin Yi again, Lin Yi even had a spirit beast. It was almost like she didn't know Lin Yi at all. This spirit beast originally belonged to the Qian Mountain sect. At the Hidden House Summit, they wanted to use this spirit beast to kill me. They didn't expect me to take it. Your grandfather was very angry at that time. Lin Yi smiled. At the Hidden House Summit, they couldn't stop me. Now, they won't be able to stop me. Lin Yi, aren't you just an Earth Class Mid-Stage Peak Master now? Yuning was a little surprised. At that time, they let you take this spirit beast away. My strength is indeed Earth Class Mid-Stage Peak, but there are some things that you will slowly understand. It's hard to explain in a few words. In short, I can fight people who are stronger than me. Lin Yi's situation couldn't be explained in a few words. Yuning hugged the back of Lin Yi's waist and rode on the purple lightning beast. Her forehead gently leaned on Lin Yi's back, quietly enjoying this moment of happiness. What happened today made Yuning feel unreal. It was as if happiness came too fast and too sudden. She was afraid that she would lose it. Only by hugging Lin Yi and leaning on his body could she clearly feel his existence. Xiao Feng, go to Sky Rain Town. This is the map. Lin Yi took out the navigation map from his phone and showed it to the purple lightning beast. Roar! Roar dash! The purple lightning beast looked at it and nodded to show that it remembered. Then, it galloped in the direction of Sky Rain Town, Hidden House Zhao. Uncle Zhu didn't drive this time. Instead, he found a friend of the Hidden House who was familiar with this area and used a private plane to send Zhao Qibing back to the Hidden House. Although he really wanted Zhao Qibing to become a eunuch, and it would be best if he died, he was the spy that Lin Yi planted in the hidden house. Before he was exposed, he had to do his best to avoid suspicion. Especially after this incident, it would be strange if Zhao Qibing didn't suspect him of leaking the secret. So, Uncle Zhu was very proactive. Old Zhao had heard from Uncle Zhu that Zhao Qibing was kicked into a eunuch by Lin Yi. He was shocked and angry. He quickly brought Zhao Qibing into the hidden house with Yao Wang. Grandpa, I didn't think that Lin Yi would actually go. Ouch. It hurts, Zhao Qibing said as he grimaced in pain. Yao Wang, take a look at Qibing's injuries. Although old Zhao was worried, he still looked calm on the surface. Yes. Yao Wang quickly nodded and checked on Zhao Qibing's injuries. At that moment, old man Zhao said, Uncle Zhu, what's going on? How did Lin Yi know about this? That, I don't know. Uncle Zhu's face was full of confusion and anger. Who knows how that Lin Yi knew about it? This is really strange. I only found out the truth moments before the mission to capture Yuning. Could it be that someone else knew about it before me? There's a mole. There must be a mole. Definitely. Old master, I think that there's something fishy about this. We need to investigate this. Investigate it thoroughly. Mole? Old Zhao originally suspected that Uncle Zhu was a traitor, but after hearing him say that he only found out the truth moments before the mission to capture Yuning, he hesitated. Looking at his indignant face, it didn't seem like he was the one who leaked the secret. Could it be that there was a mole? The only ones who knew about this were Yushan, himself, and Elder Mian. The only one left was Zhao Qibing. He and Zhao Qibing couldn't have leaked the secret. Yushan participated in the mission, so it wouldn't benefit him at all if he leaked the secret. The only one left was Elder Mian. Could it be that there was a problem with Elder Mian? With that thought, old Zhao turned to Elder Mian. Chapter 2677. Grandpa, I don't think it was our people who leaked the secret. When Yuning was caught by me, she was still talking about Lin Yi's name. Her lover is Lin Yi. I'm guessing that Yuning went on a date with Lin Yi, but I was fucking unlucky. Zhao Qibing calmed down and analyzed the situation. There was no way that Elder Mian and Yushan would leak the secret, and Uncle Zhu was the last to find out. Even if he leaked the secret, he wouldn't have the time to do so. Plus, he had no motive to leak the secret. He was beaten up by Lin Yi and Wu Qintian before, and he hated Lin Yi more than anything. How could he help Lin Yi? Thinking about it, this was the only explanation. Besides, Lin Yi said that he and Yuning had that kind of relationship. Sigh. I'm so unlucky. If I knew that Yuning was Lin Yi's woman, I wouldn't have done this even if I had to eat shit. Is that so? Old Zhao froze and nodded. If Lin Yi and Yuning have a relationship, then it's hard to say. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Yao Wang, how is Qibing's injury? Old head, Qibing's injury is very serious. This Lin Yi is very cunning. When he kicked, he didn't just kick, he added pure qi into it. He blew up the meridians around Qibing's yang part. On the surface, it looks like his yang part is broken, but in reality, even if he ate a small Huan pill, it would only heal the surface. The inside can't be healed, unless we use a great Huan pill, Yao Wang said after a careful examination. That's serious? Old Zhao was shocked. Zhao Qibing was the future head of the house, and the hidden house, Zhao couldn't be wiped out. So he quickly asked, then, other than the great Huan pill, is there any other way? I can only try. I can't guarantee anything. Yao Wang hesitated and said, I'm 50% sure. That's good. It's good that there's hope. Lord Zhao was finally relieved. Of course, you don't have to worry too much. The hidden house Zhao won't stop. Although Master Bing can't have sex anymore, he can use other methods of artificial insemination. It's just more troublesome. Yao Wang was proficient in medicine, so he reassured Grandpa Zhao. That's good. After old Master Zhao heard it, he was even more relieved. Then you try your best. It's fine if you don't have sex. This time, you suffered a loss because of a woman. In the future, you can't suffer this kind of loss again. Qibing was crying in his heart. He was crying. All right, let's put this aside for now. Elder Mian, we need to think about how we should deal with this. The ambush didn't work, so our relationship with the hidden house, you will only worsen. We need to think of a way to appease the anger of the hidden house you, old Zhao said. After Elder Mian heard it, he finally let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like old Zhao didn't suspect him anymore. However, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with it. He could only say, "Let me think about it," and, "Qibing, do you have any ideas?" Old Zhao turned to look at Qibing, who was being treated by Yaowang. "Grandpa, didn't Lin Yi go? Why don't we just tell the hidden house you that it was Lin Yi who took Yuning away? Anyway, when I was researching with Yushan, we did our research. Let Yushan tell his grandpa that it was Lin Yi who took Yuning away. Wouldn't that be the case?" Qibing thought about it and said, "Didn't we blame the qi gathering pill on Lin Yi last time? It was a lucky hit. It should be the same this time, right? It won't work this time." Old Zhao shook his head. "Let's not talk about Yaowang's medicine. Yuning will be able to remember what happened after the effect ends. Plus, she has evidence. You two idiots, you didn't even take the camera with you when you left. Do you think the hidden house you doesn't know the truth?" That, Qibing thought about it. Not only would Yuning remember the truth, but even if she couldn't, there was still the camera. He and Uncle Zhu left in a hurry and forgot about this. That, I was also scared by Lin Yi. "I'm sorry, old master," Uncle Zhu said, sweating. "Forget it. Lin Yi is very strong. It's normal for you to be scared. Even I, a sky class master, am scared when I see Lin Yi." Old Zhao didn't continue to blame them. Instead, he said, "Elder Mian, do you have a plan?" "Old master, from what I see, since we can't hide it anymore, other than taking the initiative to admit our mistakes, is there any other way?" Elder Mian smiled bitterly. "It's not impossible to take the initiative to admit the mistake. We can push all the blame to Yushan and say that Qibing was tricked by him. Let me think. Let me sort out my thoughts." Old Zhao was indeed a sinister person. He thought of a solution in a moment. "Isn't Yuning and Lin Yi's lover? I have an idea. We'll say that Yushan was injured by Lin Yi. He wanted to take revenge, but didn't have the strength, so he used Qibing to kidnap Yuning to take revenge on Lin Yi. What do you think?" "Ha ha ha, I'm a genius." "That's right." Qibing slapped his thigh excitedly. But Yaowang was in the middle of inserting the needle, and the needle went into his egg. Qibing cried out in pain. "Ouch! My egg, it hurts." Yaowang was a little embarrassed. "It's fine. It's just a small injury. It won't be a big deal." "Master Bing, don't move. Okay." Qibing was so scared that he didn't dare to slap his thigh anymore. "Grandpa, that's a good move, but I don't feel good about Yushan becoming the scapegoat. After all, he came here to help me. He can't get away no matter what. Even if you don't blame it on him, he won't be able to recover this time. It's better to let him be used as trash and use him to his fullest potential." Old Zhao waved his hand and said, one had to admit that old Zhao was quite a skillful person. He got it right twice by a fluke. This time, he blamed it on Yushan. Other than not knowing Yuning's value to the hidden house you, he didn't know that Yushan wanted to take revenge on the hidden house you, but he was right about Yushan wanting to take revenge on Lin Yi. That's true. Qibing was also a cruel person. After listening to old Zhao's words, he nodded in agreement. Chapter 2678. Elder Mian, go spread the news as soon as possible, Elder Zhao said to Elder Mian. "Yes, I'll go spread the news now." Elder Mian nodded. At this time, Lin Yi had brought Yuning to the foot of the mountain where the hidden house Yu was located. At this time, it was impossible for Lin Yi to sneak up, as he was stopped by a few Earth-class masters. Usually, these Earth-class disciples wouldn't appear unless there was a major event. They were all training hard, but today Yuning went missing. They were also sent to the foot of the mountain to search for emergencies. That was when they saw Lin Yi. "Who is it? Get off the spirit beast, and let us inspect it." The leading disciple, Yu Ba, scolded. Lin Yi didn't drive or ride a horse, so he didn't know what to say. Lin Yi obediently let Feng stop. In fact, with Lin Yi's skills, these people weren't his opponents at all. Even if they forced their way in, they wouldn't be able to stop the purple thunderbolt beast's speed. But since they were in the hidden house, Lin Yi had to give Yu Ning some face, or else he'd embarrass her. Miss Yu Ning. Yuba finally saw the person behind Lin Yi on the spirit beast. It was Yu Ning they were looking for. Yuba was shocked and quickly pressed the pager in his hand. I'm Yuba. I found Miss Yu Ning. She's riding a spiritual beast with a stranger at the foot of the mountain. I'm calling for backup. Yuba, no need to call for backup, just let us go up, Yu Ning said. Yuba hesitated. If it was just Yu Ning, he'd let her go up without a second thought, but Yu Ning was with someone else, and there was a mystic class late phase peak. He didn't know how strong this spirit beast was, so he didn't dare act rashly. But while Yuba was hesitating, Old Yu had already brought Yu Shaochen to the foot of the mountain. One of them was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven realm, while the other was at the peak of the late phase of the earth realm. Their speed was very fast, and they were in their own territory, so they quickly reached the foot of the mountain. Lin Yi. Old Ancestor Yu was excited when he saw Yu Ning, but he was shocked when he saw Lin Yi. Isn't Lin Yi in East Ocean City? He'd already called Yushu and Tiger Right Hand to confirm it. Lin Yi definitely didn't come to kidnap Yu Ning. Why did Lin Yi come back with Yu Ning? He came all the way from Donghai City. Old Ancestor Yu was even more shocked when he saw the purple lightning beast under Lin. Of course, he wasn't unfamiliar with this purple lightning beast. He had seen it at the Hidden House Summit. But at that time, the purple lightning beast was only at the peak late phase of the golden class. How did it become a mystic late phase peak in just a few days? Thinking back to how fast the purple lightning beast was, it must be even faster after leveling up. It made sense that Lin Yi could come here in such a short amount of time. Elder Yu, how have you been? Lin Yi looked at Old Ancestor Yu. He said faintly, but his attitude wasn't respectful at all. He didn't get off his beast, and it didn't seem like a junior meeting an elder at all. Old Ancestor Yu heard Lin Yi's nonchalant question and suddenly realized that Lin Yi was no longer the same Lin Yi of the past. His mount was a mystic late phase peak, and his own strength was something that Old Ancestor Yu couldn't underestimate. He couldn't underestimate a Sky Class Master at the peak of the mid-phase of the Earth Class. To be able to kill a Sky Class with the strength of an Earth Class mid-phase peak, there was no way House Yu's Old Ancestor wouldn't be surprised. Especially when he heard that even the Vice President of the Cultivator Trading Association and the Hidden Right family's Heaven Stage expert called him senior. What else could the Old Ancestor of House Yu do? However, in front of Yu Ning, he naturally couldn't call Lin Yi a senior. He only said politely, so it's young hero Lin. My Hidden House Yu is honored by your presence. What a rare guest. Haha, you're too kind, Elder Yu. Lin Yi smiled. Yu Ning looked at her grandfather in shock, and then looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi really didn't lie. He came here, and it seemed that her grandfather didn't dare to make him stay, but he was also very polite. Was Lin Yi already this strong? Young hero Lin, how did my granddaughter come back with you? Elder Yu narrowed his eyes and looked at Yu Ning, who was hugging Lin Yi. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. Oh, Zhao Qibing kidnapped her, and I happened to save her. Lin Yi said it very simply, but Old Ancestor Yu knew that it wasn't that simple. Let's not talk about how Lin Yi knew that Yu Ning was kidnapped. Just the fact that Lin Yi was able to find Yu Ning so accurately was already very strange. However, Old Ancestor Yu didn't dare to ask too much. After all, if Lin Yi didn't want to say it, no one could force him to. I see. Thank you, young hero Lin, for saving us. You even sent her to my doorstep. I'm honored. In this hidden house, there aren't many people that young hero Lin would voluntarily help. Old Ancestor Yu said politely. What's wrong, Elder Yu? You're not going to invite me up? Lin Yi asked. Haha, look at me. I was so busy talking that I forgot. Old Ancestor Yu laughed. Actually, if young hero Lin wants to come up, no one can stop you. Please, young hero Lin. Phone, let's go. Lin Yi said to the purple thunderbolt beast. The purple thunderbolt beast slowly walked up the mountain. Yu Ning, who was sitting behind Lin Yi, wanted to come down, but the purple thunderbolt beast was already gone. She could only sit behind Lin Yi with a red face and hug Lin Yi. Old Ancestor Yu's face changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He didn't want to anger Lin Yi. This kid was hard to say he might kill someone. Old Ancestor Yu felt that he might not be killed by Lin Yi with his Sky-class early phase peak strength, but the others couldn't. Yu Xiaochen and the others weren't even worth one move. Elder Bai of the Hidden House Zhao wasn't Lin Yi's opponent at all. They arrived at the living room of the Hidden House Yu. Lin Yi got off the purple Thunderbolt Beast, and Yuning got off as well. The old ancestor of House Yu said, "Young hero Lin, please come in." Yu Xiaochen. Ning must be in shock. Take her to rest and ask her about Zhao Qibing. This Zhao Qibing sure is bold to do something like this. In fact, old ancestor Yu said so much because he wanted Yuning to leave first. He wanted to talk to Lin Yi alone. Chapter 2679. Yuning looked at Lin Yi, a little reluctant, but she misunderstood her grandpa's politeness towards Lin Yi. She thought that her situation had turned for the better, and so she didn't insist. She looked at Lin Yi affectionately and left with Yu Xiaochen. "Young hero Lin, please come in." Old ancestor Yu waited for Yuning to leave before making a welcoming gesture to Lin Yi. "Elder Yu, you sent Yuning away because you have something to say to me, right? If you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to be polite." Lin Yi saw through old Yu's intention and didn't beat around the bush. "Young hero Lin is indeed straightforward. I'll speak the truth then." Old ancestor Yu nodded. "Young hero Lin, thank you for saving her this time. If it wasn't for you, that bastard Zhao Qibing would have already." I just happened to be there." Lin Yi waved his hand. "No, you, the Hidden House Yu, and Yu Ning were willing to help for no reason. I'm very grateful, and as a token of gratitude, I've decided to give you some treasures as a reward." Old ancestor Yu said. "No reason?" Lin Yi frowned slightly and looked at Elder Yu. "Yes, so naturally. We can't let young hero Lin help us for no reason. We will compensate you." Old ancestor Yu nodded. "We, the Hidden House Yu, can't owe you a favor." "Elder Yu, what do you mean by this? Yu Ning and I are considered old friends, right? I'm sure Elder Yu knows about this, right?" Lin Yi understood what old ancestor Yu was saying. He was trying his best to distance himself from Lin Yi. He didn't want to link this rescue with Yu Ning. He just wanted Lin Yi to be his benefactor. "Young hero Lin, I actually have my own difficulties. There are some things that you don't know, and even Xiao Ning doesn't know. But since things have come to this point, I'm afraid that I won't be able to help you. I won't hide it then. I'll tell you the truth. The situation is like this. Although I can see what's going on between you and Ning, there are some things that I can't decide." Old ancestor Yu changed the topic and started playing the emotional card. "What do you mean?" Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat as he looked at Elder Yu. "When Xiaoning was young, she's already engaged to an ancient sect." Elder Yu said, "This marriage is something that our Hidden House Yu values very much, and so does the other sect. So, please understand, young hero Lin, although you're already very strong, able to kill Sky-class masters in one hit, I know that I'm not your opponent. But can you instantly kill a peak late-stage Heaven Realm expert? And not just one? So, young hero Lin, I hope that you can control yourself. Don't cause trouble for our Hidden House Yu, and don't cause trouble for yourself. The ancient sect isn't something that you can mess with and fight against." Lin Yi was a little shocked after hearing Elder Yu's words. He looked at Elder Yu in shock. Although he didn't fully believe it, it explained why the other hidden houses were trying to get close to Lin Yi. Only the Hidden House Yu didn't do this. It seemed like they had found another sect. An ancient sect, yet another ancient sect. Lin Yi took a deep breath. With his current strength, he naturally wasn't a match for the ancient sections. However, since he had made up his mind to face Yuning's matter, he didn't want to give up so easily. "I've told the Common House Yu that they owe me 2 wives. Now that the Common House Yu is gone, as the support of the Common House Yu, the Hidden House Yu, I'll naturally put this on your head." Lin Yi said faintly, "Yuning, it's 1. It seems like you're still missing one?" "Young hero Lin, you must be joking." Elder Yu's heart skipped a beat, but he still maintained his composure. Our hidden house Yu only has one granddaughter, Yuning, and she's already engaged. Naturally, we can't give you two wives, haha. Is that so? Lin Yi smiled. An ancient sect, huh? I know which ancient sect it is. I won't ask now, but before Yuning gets married, I hope you can tell me. I'll ask her myself if this is her wish. That's not a problem. Elder Yu thought about it and nodded. The current Lin Yi wasn't someone he could mess with. Although Yuning's engagement was something he made up on the spot, the truth wasn't far from the truth. Elder Yu didn't feel embarrassed for lying. If that's the case, then I'll leave now. Lin Yi said faintly, since Elder Yu doesn't want to interact with me too much and only treats me as an outsider, there's no reason for me to stay. See you later. Young hero Lin, as a thank you, I'll give you some treasures you need. What do you want? Elder Yu asked. Oh, do you have any of the colored steel, pure yellow jade, or blue crystal powder? Lin Yi asked. Oh, I do have some colored steel, but I don't have anything else. Young hero Lin, you only want colored steel? Elder Yu was curious why Lin Yi wanted this stuff. It wasn't anything useful. Yes. Lin Yi nodded. All right. Old ancestor Yu didn't ask any more questions. He waved his hand at Yuba. Yuba, go find Yu Yi and tell him to bring the colored steel from his house. Yes, Elder. Yuba nodded and went to do it. After a while, Yu Yi came back with a small box in his hand. It must be the colored steel. Old ancestor Yu took it and passed it to Lin Yi. Young hero Lin, do you see if this is it? Lin Yi opened the box and saw that it was indeed a colored steel. It was even bigger than the one he got from the hidden house Han. This surprised Lin Yi. Although Yuning's engagement made him depressed, this colored steel was a pleasant surprise. All right, this is it. I'll accept it then. Lin Yi accepted the colored steel without hesitation. Since Elder Yu was trying his best to cut ties with Lin Yi, there was no need for Lin Yi to build a relationship with him. Lin Yi could see that everything was fake. Only strength mattered. As long as he had strength, everything was negotiable. Without strength, everything was just empty talk. In the past, when Lin Yi didn't have the strength to kill Sky Class, would Elder Yu talk to him so politely? Obviously not. Throwing him out was already being merciful. Who knew he might even use this chance to kill him? Chapter 2680. But now, Elder Yu didn't dare to do that. Although he still didn't get close to Lin Yi, it was obvious that he respected Lin Yi a lot more, and he even gave him a gift. This was a change in attitude. Of course, this is what young hero Lin deserves. Old ancestor Yu smiled. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. It seems like Elder Yu doesn't want me to stay for supper. With that, Lin Yi walked towards the door, and Elder Yu didn't stop him. The relationship between the two was limited to mere politeness. Lin Yi walked out of the living room and got on the purple thunder beast. He looked at the hidden house Yu's castle one last time and took a deep breath. He vowed to himself that he would return to this place again. He patted the purple thunder beast's shoulder and said, "Feng, let's go back." One man and one beast left. Elder Yu frowned. He didn't know if what happened today was a blessing or a curse. His relationship with Lin Yi improved, and Elder Yu didn't have to worry anymore. These days, he heard that Lin Yi's strength had skyrocketed, and he was afraid that the hidden house Yu would go against Lin Yi. But now Lin Yi took Kaigang, and the two wouldn't go against each other so easily. What worried Elder Yu was Yuning. After Lin Yi heard about the ancient sect's marriage, he left temporarily, but Elder Yu could see that Lin Yi wouldn't give up easily. He was just enduring it for now. So Elder Yu was worried. Would there be trouble in the future? Although he told Lin Yi about the pros and cons, if Lin Yi had enough strength, then the situation wouldn't be something Elder Yu could control. With that thought, Elder Yu couldn't help but sigh. He spoke to Yu Yi. "Gather all the members for supper. I have something to say." "Ah, okay." Yu Yi froze. House Yu's old ancestor never gathered his family for supper, and even if he wasn't here, the hidden house Yu wouldn't sit together for supper like this. Whoever was hungry would go to the dining room to eat. But there was something important today, so Yu Yi quickly went to the dining room. Yuning was the happiest. After she returned to her room, Xiaochen only asked about what happened and didn't say much. Towards Yuning's admiration and respect for Lin Yi, he didn't show any displeasure or displeasure. And now, Elder Yu was gathering the whole family for supper again. Obviously, there was something important. In Yuning's mind, it might be a special supper for Lin Yi. Otherwise, there was no need to hold a family supper in the middle of the night. Yuning happily held her little spirit beast and went to the dinner party. Lin Yi seemed to be very knowledgeable about spirit beasts, so Yuning planned to let him take a look at what happened to her spirit beast. Why was it injured? She wanted to see if he could do anything. Yushan. This time, he was also sent to the dining room by Yu Ba, although the hidden house Yu was in a mess. Lin Yi rode his spirit beast to visit again, but Yushan didn't know about it. He was isolated in his room and couldn't get any information. He was suddenly invited to dinner, and it was strange. Was it a blessing or a curse? However, when he saw the intact Yuning appear in the banquet hall with the spirit beast, his heart sank. Yuning was fine. Didn't that mean that Zhao Qibing was in trouble? Thinking that Zhao Qibing might not have succeeded, Yushan was filled with hatred. What a useless thing. He'd already taken the person away, and he still didn't succeed. Could he be a eunuch? He wasn't wrong. Zhao Qibing had really become a eunuch. At the same time, Yu Xiaochen received news from the hidden house Zhao, and he was furious. Although there were some excuses for Zhao Qibing, but if what the hidden house Zhao said was true, then he was even more furious at Yushan. Yu Xiaochen was suspicious of him, and now it seemed that if he wasn't a spy, Zhao Qibing wouldn't be able to complete the plan. But Yu Xiaochen didn't get angry right away. He sat in his seat with a dark face, waiting for the old man to arrive. Yu Shan's face was also very ugly. Yu Shan's father, Yu Xiaozhong, also felt that something was wrong. He wanted to ask Yu Shan something, but he didn't dare to speak. He could only wait anxiously for the dinner to start. Not long after, Yu Xing, the old man of House Yu, came to the dining room and sat in the main seat. He also got the news from Yu Yi that Yu Shan was a traitor. Grandpa, where's Lin Yi? Yuning didn't feel that something was wrong with the atmosphere. She was immersed in the happiness of reuniting with Lin Yi, and now that her grandpa came and Lin Yi wasn't here, she felt that it was strange. Lin Yi is left, the old man said faintly. Old ancestor Yu said faintly, don't think about him anymore. You and him are from two different worlds. I've talked to him, and he has his own girlfriend. You're just a normal friend. Don't think too much about it. That's impossible. Yuning was shocked after listening to her grandpa's words. When she was in the hotel room, she could clearly feel Lin Yi's feelings for her. When they held hands, she could also feel Lin Yi's feelings for her. How could she treat him as an ordinary friend? Grandpa didn't agree. That's why he was talking nonsense. Yuning felt very angry and wronged. Why did Grandpa still not agree to the relationship between her and Lin Yi? Grandpa was already treating Lin Yi with a lot of respect. What was wrong with all this? Nothing is impossible. The old man waved his hand. Old ancestor Yu waved his hand. Ning, I'll talk to you about you and Lin Yi alone after the meal. We need to talk about something else now.
Oh, okay.
Yuning nodded and sat there with the beast in her arms. She didn't have the appetite to eat anymore. Although the hidden house Yu's dinner was very sumptuous, at this moment, no one had the appetite to eat, especially Yu Xiaozhong and Yu Shan. Both of their foreheads were sweating. Yu Shan, you've done well, haven't you? Colluding with Zhao Qibing to kidnap your sister? Are you still a part of House Yu? Old ancestor Yu changed the topic and looked at Yu Shan, his tone sharp. Yu Shan heard the old man's question and knew that his plan was exposed. It was futile to try to escape now. Zhao Qibing had probably confessed, and there was no point in hiding anymore. His psychological defense was broken, and he knew that things weren't going well. Chapter 2681. Father, is there some kind of misunderstanding? Xiaozhong was shocked and quickly tried to explain for his son. Yushan is a cripple. How could he do something like this? Cripple? It's because he's a cripple that he's holding grudges, right? Elder Yu said faintly. Yu Yi, play the hidden Elder Mion's phone number for them? Yes. After Rain heard it, She took out a recording pen and began to play the phone recording inside. Qibing has confessed, Yushan hated Lin Yi, so he set this up. Elder Mion's voice came from the recording pen. Impossible. That's impossible. Zhao Qibing doesn't know about Yu Ning and Lin Yi. Yushan screamed. And it wasn't me who set this up, it was him. He told me to do it. I have a recording here too. I've saved the evidence. Yushan. Yu Xiaozhong heard Yushan's words. It didn't matter if Yushan had set it up or not. He was definitely a partaker in it. He was an accomplice in this kidnapping case, and Yushan really wasn't going to escape this time. Yu Ba, take him away, I don't want to see him again. Elder Yu didn't ask about the details and waved his hand, letting Yu Ba take Yushan away. It was enough as long as Yushan was involved. It didn't matter if it was Zhao Qibing's idea or Yushan's. Put him under house arrest first. Feed the servants leftovers every day, as long as he doesn't starve to death. Yes. Yu Ba nodded. Yushan was taken away, and he wasn't willing to accept it. If it was done, Lin Yi would cry, and House Yi would fall, and he wouldn't care. Even if he died, it would be a worthy death. But now he wasn't willing. Yu Xiaozhong's face was ashen. He sat there in silence. You guys eat, I don't feel like eating anymore. I came here to tell you this news, Yu Xiaozhong. You don't have to be responsible for the family's affairs anymore. Just focus on your training. Elder Yu waved his hand and said faintly, Yes, father. Xiaozhong knew that his position in House Yu was finished, and it was already good enough that he could keep his training resources. He could only sigh. It seemed like his bloodline would not have any chance of competing in the future. Yu Ning, come with me, Old Ancestor Yu said as he stood up. Oh. Yu Ning followed Old Ancestor Yu out of the banquet hall and went to a small room on the side. Ning, sit. Elder Yu gestured for her to sit.
I'll tell you about Lin Yi.
And Yu Ning nodded and looked at Elder Yu expectantly. You and Lin Yi, I think you know that it's impossible. Let's not talk about your future first. He was going to walk an unusual path even now. Lin Yi already has several wives. Do you still want to join in the fun? House Yu's old ancestor wanted to use this conversation to completely cut off the relationship between Yu Ning and Lin Yi. He understood that it was better to let it go than to block it, and now he couldn't block it anymore. With Lin Yi's strength, he couldn't do anything to him anymore.
Grandpa.
Don't you have several wives as well? What's wrong with that? Yu Ning blinked and asked curiously. Cough, cough, cough. Old Ancestor Yu remembered that Yu Ning had lived in the hidden House Yu since she was young. Other than training, she never left the house. She heard and saw everything in the hidden House Yu, so she wouldn't care about this. He was wrong, but he still said, Oh, even if it's nothing, you should know that for the big plan in the future, you have to keep your virginity. Otherwise, it will bring disaster to the hidden House Yu. Moreover, this isn't a good thing for Lin Yi. The current Lin Yi, although he can look down on the hidden houses, is definitely not the opponent of the big plan. If he goes against the people from that place, it will be a dead end. You don't want to harm others and yourself, and let Lin Yi and that place become enemies, right? Yu Ning was silent. Although she didn't know the details of the future plan because of her own future, she knew some of it. The one who made this plan was a powerful sect, even more powerful than the ancient sections. This was also the reason why the hidden House Yu had developed so fast in these years. So what Old Ancestor Yu said might not be completely perfunctory and deceptive. Of course, Yu Ning didn't know that even if it wasn't for her, Lin Yi and that place already had a deep hatred. Even if they didn't provoke Lin Yi, one day, Lin Yi would still kill them. So Yu Ning nodded, but she was unwilling. But I can keep some distance from him. I won't cross the last step. But does Lin Yi know? You guys are like firewood and fire. If something unexpected happens, then it's all over. Old Ancestor Yu shook his head and said, Moreover, does that place know? What would they think if they saw it? They will definitely kill Lin Yi to prevent future trouble. Yu Ning was silent again. Yes, what if that place killed Lin Yi indiscriminately? So, if you don't want to hurt Lin Yi, then don't have anything to do with him anymore, Old Ancestor Yu said. Oh, after that plan, can I be with him? Yuning asked unwillingly. Let's talk about that plan later. We don't know what will happen. Old ancestor, you didn't answer the question directly. Okay, I wanted to ask Lin Yi to help me look at this spirit beast. He seems to be very good at raising spirit beasts. Yu Bingbro also said that he could ask Lin Yi for help. Yuning raised the spirit beast in her hand and said, "Oh." Old ancestor Yu's eyes flashed a light. He hesitated for a moment, looked at the spirit beast in Lin Yi's arms, estimated the time to start the plan, and then said reluctantly, "Okay, I will invite Lin Yi to be a guest in the near future, but you should not contact him in private." "Okay, thank you, Grandpa." Yuning listened to her grandpa's words and suddenly became very happy. She thought that she wouldn't be able to see Lin Yi for a long time in the future. Moreover, this time, although Grandpa gave a clear answer to whether or not she could be with Lin Yi after the plan was completed, it meant that there was hope. How could Yuning not be happy? What made Yuning feel strange was that Grandpa didn't seem to care much about his spirit beast's injury before, but this time, why did he suddenly care so much? Chapter 2682. Actually, this was Yuning's misunderstanding. It wasn't that old Yu didn't care, but it was useless even if he cared. He had no way. This spirit beast was traded from Qianshan sect at a high price. It had been with Yuning since it was young. If there were any problems, old Yu would know. Even the Qianshan sect, which specialized in raising spirit beasts, couldn't do anything about it. What did old Yu have to do? He wouldn't waste any more time. But the situation was different this time. Lin Yi was able to kidnap the spirit beast of Qianshan sect and even increase his strength. There was no way House Yu's old ancestor wouldn't be moved. Maybe Lin Yi really had a way to deal with this. Besides, this spirit beast was very important to Yuning. Old Yu knew it better than anyone. He didn't have a way before, but now he had a way. Even if he had to beg Lin Yi, he could only accept it. It was already midnight when Lin Yi got back to Donghai. He packed up Kai Gang and went to bed. He didn't care about Zhao Qibing and the hidden House Yu at all. It didn't matter much to him whether or not the two families fell out with each other. The next morning, Lin Yi was telling Meng Yao, Yushu, Han Jingjing, and Xinyan about what happened last night. Lin Yi's phone rang. He picked it up. It was Boss Bai. Lin Yi quickly picked it up. "Master Bai, you're looking for me?" "Lil Yi, I've found some information about your special constitution." Boss Bai sounded very excited. "Also, there's news about the solution." "Oh, really? That's great. What's the news?" Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised as he asked. "Ugh, it's just news." Boss Bai smiled bitterly. "Aren't you being too anxious?" "So it's just news." Lin Yi smiled bitterly, feeling that he was too excited. "It's good enough that there is news, and the news is very reliable. I only found a bit of news after reading a lot of ancient books that I brought out of the sect." Boss Bai explained. "Thank you for your hard work, Teacher Bai. What is this news?" Lin Yi said gratefully. "Lin Yi, if it's possible, we need to go to Zhang Liju's tomb again. His research in this area should be stored on the bookshelf in his tomb," Bai Boss said. "Oh? Was this Zhang Liju's research? It's not in the notes?" Lin Yi paused, not expecting to have to go to Zhang Liju's tomb. "Nope, the notes are only notes about elixir. It's Master Liju's most important book, but a refiner might have multiple notes in their lifetime. For example, notes on strange things. Your constitution belongs to this category," Boss Bai explained. "I see. Then this should be done as soon as possible. When are we going?" Lin Yi was getting anxious after hearing that there was a way to solve his constitution problem. "Any time is fine, this weekend. Then you can make the arrangements and we'll go together," Boss Bai said. "All right, I'll make the arrangements." Lin Yi nodded excitedly. "What? Something good happened? Why are you so happy?" Meng Yao looked at the happy Lin Yi and asked. Lin Yi had been telling her about what happened last night. Although Meng Yao didn't say anything, she was a bit troubled by the fact that Lin Yi suddenly had a first love. Why was there another first love? However, Wang Xinyan didn't say anything. She just listened quietly, as if she didn't show much jealousy towards Yuning's appearance. In fact, Wang Xinyan understood her position very well. She knew that every day she spent with Lin Yi was one day less. If Lin Yi didn't have the ability to fight against the ancient sects, then she would still have to marry Kong Xiaolong. So, this was already a good deal. It wasn't worth it to be jealous because of a first love. Xinyan didn't have that much time to think about these things.
Haha.
Master Bai has found a way to solve my constitution problem. I might be able to make elixirs in the future. Lin Yi didn't hide anything. He was familiar with everyone here, and Han Xiaoqiao had long since gone back to his car to read after breakfast. He wasn't interested in Lin Yi's adventures at all. He was a complete bookworm.
Oh.
So that's how it is. Meng Yao nodded. Then I have to congratulate you. Now you can see Xiao Xiao sooner. To be honest, I quite miss her. Xiao Xiao and Meng Yao had been enemies before, but the relationship between the two was very deep. Meng Yao hoped that she could come back soon. But I still have to go to Zhang Liju's tomb. I don't know if I can find a way or if I can make it happen. Everything is still unknown. Lin Yi shrugged. Although the news was exciting, it was hard to say whether or not the notes were in the tomb. It's always good to have hope, Meng Yao smiled. Yeah, Lin Yi big bro is so strong. It'll be fine. Han Jingjing was a firm supporter of Lin Yi. Haha, strong or not, it has nothing to do with whether or not Zhang Liju left the notes. Lin Yi smiled. Anyways, I think it'll be fine, Han Jingjing said. Meng Yao found it strange sometimes. Just what made Han Jingjing trust Lin Yi so much. Last time, Han Jingjing was on the verge of death, but she still kept Lin Yi's secret. At first, she and Shu suspected that Han Jingjing had some ulterior motive for Lin Yi, but now it seemed that even if she did have ulterior motives, it was enough for Lin Yi to trust her and cherish her. At least, Meng Yao was very willing to let Han Jingjing and Lin Yi be together. This girl had nothing to do with the world, and she worshipped Lin Yi a lot. Meng Yao would be at ease if she was at home. There was no way she'd cause any trouble. After breakfast, the group went to school. After reaching school, Lin Yi planned to call Xiaoge, but the moment the call went through, Lin Yi suddenly remembered his identity. He was Lin Yi, not a male thief. But since the call went through, Lin Yi decided to tease Xiaoge a little. It was rare that Lin Yi was in a good mood today. Hello?
Lin Yi?
What's up? Xiaoge picked up the phone. Her head hurt, but she couldn't ignore it. She complained in her heart. Hadn't her brother told Lin Yi everything yet? Why was he still calling her? Chapter 2683. Today was May 20th, a holiday that wasn't considered a holiday. At least on 520 and 521 every year, it was a day for lovers to date or finally get married. It was said that on this day, couples would form a long line to register their marriage. Lin Yi had been in Songshan for more than 2 months. He had just recovered from Ma Zhu's injury. Early in the morning, Lin Yi arrived at school, but he realized that today's school was different from the past. On the school field, there were actually students who hung up banners and slogans. Lin Yi took a closer look. It actually wrote, 520, Heartbeat Memories, Confession Before Graduation. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He was about to find someone to ask, but he suddenly raised his head and saw the dean, Wang Jifeng. So Lin Yi quickly waved his hand. Dean Wang, good morning. Are you free? I have something to ask you. Lin Yi classmate, what's up? Wang Jifeng saw that it was Lin Yi and quickly walked over to ask. What's going on in school? Is there some kind of activity? Lin Yi asked. Oh, today is May 20th, 520, which also means I love you. Every year, when the senior students graduate, they will spontaneously have a pre-graduation confession. This tradition has been going on for many years. At first, it was because of the popularity of a game called Heartbeat Memories, so the students will confess to the boy or girl they have a crush on the eve of graduation. Wang Jifeng explained. Lin Yi transferred here halfway, so it was normal that he didn't know the school's tradition.
Oh?
If that's the case, then the school doesn't interfere? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. He didn't think that Wang Jifeng would actually not interfere with this kind of student confession activity. It's considered a tradition. Also, this activity only allows graduating students to participate. Non-graduating students are not allowed to participate. Wang Jifeng smiled and said, Student Lin Yi, I'm not an unenlightened person. You should understand that. It's just that I'm strict with the students for their own good. Now that I was about to graduate, there were only a few days left before the college entrance examination. I naturally wouldn't interfere with such an event. After all, holding such an event at this time wouldn't affect my studies. Instead, it would help me relax. To relieve the pressure before the college entrance examination, whether the confession was successful or not, it was the best memory of a person's life. First love was always unforgettable, and I wouldn't be a sinner in vain. These students will regret it years from now. I see. Lin Yi nodded to show that he understood. Wang Jifeng was not an unenlightened person, or else he would not have found a lover. It seemed that the student's fear of him was misunderstood. Student Lin Yi, you can also participate in this activity. In order to facilitate the smooth progress of this activity, classes will be suspended in the afternoon. There will also be a day off tomorrow. Wang Jifeng said, Tomorrow, there will be a spontaneous traditional activity. Couples who successfully confessed will go on a trip together. Of course, those who didn't succeed, as long as both parties are willing, they can also participate. The school is organizing this for the good of everyone. It's to prevent these couples who have just confessed from doing something unexpected before the college entrance examination. As the dean, my responsibility is to guide the students' views on love and values. Everyone will graduate soon, so I can't say much. I can only guarantee that before the college entrance examination, everyone can behave. Some things can't be rushed. If it affects the college entrance examination, it will be a big deal. As for after the college entrance examination, you will be a university student. Some universities can even get married, so why should I interfere? After listening to Director Wang Jifeng's words, for the first time, Lin Yi felt that this person's image was very tall. Although he had some small shortcomings, he was serious and responsible for teaching students, which made Lin Yi very moved. Director Wang, with a dean like you in the school, no wonder the first senior high school's results have always been among the best. It's really not easy to achieve the results of a private school like this. He. Wang Jifeng listened to Lin Yi's praise and grinned. It was not easy to make Lin Yi flatter him. Since Lin Yi knew his privacy, there was no need for Lin Yi to flatter him. Therefore, what Lin Yi said at this time must be true. How could Wang Jifeng not be happy? Director Wang, I will talk to Uncle Chu. You are a serious and responsible dean. Lin Yi said. Haha, Lin Yi classmate, thank you very much. Wang Jifeng was overjoyed. This sentence from Lin Yi could very well increase Wang Jifeng's salary. Lin Yi originally wanted to go to the school building, but after thinking about it, he turned around and left the school. He went to a flower shop near the school and ordered a bouquet of flowers. He was going to confess to Tang Yun in the afternoon. Although Lin Yi gave Tang Yun a ring before this kind of confession activity before graduation, Lin Yi still wanted to participate. Wang Jifeng was right. This was a beautiful memory before graduation. Although Lin Yi believed that he and Tang Yun could walk the path of love for the rest of their lives, the more memories, the better. However, Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Meng Yao and Xu didn't need Lin Yi to accompany them this morning. They went to school by themselves and picked up Tang Yun. Could it be that they already knew about this 520 heartbeat memory activity before graduation? They were also going to confess to someone else? Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't think that Meng Yao would confess to someone else. There must be something else. In fact, Meng Yao sent Lin Yi away because she didn't want Yushu to say anything. This girl had been nagging Meng Yao for the whole night. Meng Yao couldn't sleep well at all. Yao sis, this is a confession before graduation. If you don't grab this opportunity, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Yushu continued, there is only one chance. If Tang Yun gets it first, we won't have a chance anymore. What do you mean we? If you want to confess, you can do it yourself. Why drag me into it? I already said that I am grateful to Lin Yi, but gratitude doesn't mean that I like him. Meng Yao said. Yao sis, you don't mean what you say. Yushu said. Whatever you say. It's your mouth anyway, Meng Yao said. Yao Yao sis is guilty. Otherwise, if Shu said anything, you would have torn Shu's mouth apart. Yushu said, Are you asking for a beating? Meng Yao reached out her hand and pretended to hit Yushu. Chapter 2684. You go play with Tang Yun, don't drag me along, Meng Yao said, troubled. Yao Yao sis, how did you know I was talking about you? You must have something in your heart, that's why you said it, Yushu said, surprised. Tang Yun is here. Meng Yao pointed not far away and said helplessly. Oh. Yushu raised her head and saw Tang Yun walking over. She closed her mouth helplessly. Tang Yun, be polite when she's here. You promised me that you'll be friends with her, Meng Yao reminded Yushu. Okay, I got it. I won't attack her, but it's hard to change if you change your attitude all of a sudden, Yushu said. Tang Yun walked over and opened the car door, surprised. She didn't expect Meng Yao to be the driver and not Lin Yi. Why? It's you guys? Where's Lin Yi? Lin Yi left first today, Shu, and I will pick you up, Meng Yao said. Isn't today the school's traditional confession day? Shu wants to confess to Lin Yi. She wants to ask if you're okay with it. She wants to confess to Lin Yi? Tang Yun froze. She didn't know how to react to Meng Yao's question. Then why are you telling me? You're Lin Yi's girlfriend, so I need to ask for your opinion. Meng Yao didn't know if the question was for herself or for Shu, but she treated it as a question for Shu. Some things could only come out of her mouth when asked by someone else. This is her freedom. It would be a lie to say that Tang Yun didn't know that Meng Yao and Yushu liked Lin Yi. Tang Yun saw how much they cared for Lin Yi when Lin Yi was injured by Ma Zhu. Plus, when Lin Yi wanted to go back to West Star Village, Meng Yao also decided to go with him. If Tang Yun didn't notice anything, she would be too insensitive. She was a girl, and there were some things that she understood more than Lin Yi. Although Meng Yao had always said that she didn't like Lin Yi, Tang Yun felt that even if she didn't like him, she would still have feelings for Lin Yi, and Yushu would definitely like Lin Yi. Although she already knew about it, she didn't know how to respond to Meng Yao's words. She was also a traditional girl. How could she accept all of this at once? As a result, she wasn't able to go back to Star West Village with Lin Yi. She was a little disappointed, but at the same time relieved at the same time. After all, Meng Yao and Yushu couldn't go back with them. In school, Lin Yi was only Meng Yao's follower and bodyguard, but in what capacity would they be able to stay by Lin Yi's side after returning to Star West Village? They might have been friends at first, but as time went by, they became friends. They would definitely become lovers. Would Tang Yun accept it or not? If they didn't accept it, could they chase them back? Of course not. Tang Yun could only accept it. Even though she was mentally prepared, Tang Yun still felt conflicted. Alright, Yun, I was just joking with you. Don't take it seriously. Shu is like this, always saying that she likes Lin Yi. But if she really liked Lin Yi, she would have done something with Lin Yi a long time ago. A man and a woman living together in a villa. Do you think they would still be like this? Meng Yao was just testing Tang Yun. Seeing that Tang Yun didn't know what to do, she changed the topic with a smile. Oh, I know. Tang Yun nodded. Although she was relieved, she still felt that there was something wrong. Was Meng Yao just comforting her? However, Tang Yun had already prepared for the worst. Some things, the more you rejected, the more problems there would be. It was better to let nature take its course. Lin Yi's choice was Tang Yun's choice. Tang Yun got in the car. Meng Yao started the car and drove to a gift shop. What are we doing here? Tang Yun asked curiously. Shu is going to confess to Lin Yi in the afternoon. Yun, do you want to get one too? Meng Yao asked. Me? I don't think so. Tang Yun forced a smile. She was Lin Yi's girlfriend, but she had to confess to Lin Yi with Yushu? She felt conflicted no matter what. She might as well not confess at all. Oh, Shu, just buy a card then. Don't buy any gifts, Meng Yao said to Yushu, noticing Tang Yun's disappointment. Oh, Yushu listened to Meng Yao this time. She didn't say anything and went to the gift shop. After a while, she came back with a red card with a big heart on it. Tang Yin pretended that she didn't see it. She was silent on the way to school. She didn't say anything when she reached school. She just walked to class 9 quietly. Looking at Tang Yin's back, Meng Yao felt her heart ache. She shouldn't have let Shu continue like this. She snatched the card from Yushu's hand. Yao Yao, what are you doing? Yushu asked curiously, startled. You don't have to give this card. You can confess any time you want. You don't have to do it today, Meng Yao said. Oh. Yushu was a little depressed. Small wives don't have human rights. You know you are a small wife now. Can't you be more obedient? Small wives don't have human rights in front of the big wife. Meng Yao humphed. Then Yao Yao, if you admit that you are the big wife, I'll listen to you, Yushu said. Then I'll admit it reluctantly, Meng Yao said casually. Oh. Recording finished. Yushu raised the recording pen in her hand happily. I'll play it for Shield Bro. He doesn't know that I'm talking about his big wife. Meng Yao curled her lips. Doesn't he know now? You confessed without being pressed, Yushu said. Meng Yao was speechless. She snatched the recording pen from Yushu's hand. I'll let you record it. Yushu's joy turned to sorrow. Meng Yao passed the heart-shaped card to Lin Yi, asking Lin Yi to give it to Tang Yun in the afternoon. Lin Yi was a little puzzled. The miss went out so early in the morning just to buy a card for him? Wasn't her concern for him a little out of the ordinary? In the afternoon, the school field became extremely lively. However, basically, the third-year students stood separately according to their respective classes. Although there were many people watching the fun, there were still very few who actually went on the stage to confess to the person they liked in front of the whole grade. Chapter 2685. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the first person to go up was Pin Liang. Yao Yao, on this special day, I confess to you. I like you, and I swear that one day, I'll make you my girlfriend. Pin Liang wasn't very cultured, and his declaration of love was very simple. But with his opening, the atmosphere heated up instantly. Unfortunately, Meng Yao didn't go up to give a response. Pin Liang's confession failed. This situation was within Pin Liang's expectations. He didn't think that Meng Yao would accept his confession, but he wasn't too sad. He shook his head and walked down from the stage, leaving with Xiaofu. He didn't know what they were going to do, but he didn't have the face to stay after the confession failed. With Pin Liang's opening, things got a lot more lively. 3 or 4 more students went up to confess, but only one succeeded. Looking at the girl's eyes, it seemed like the two had been together for a long time, and the confession was just an excuse. But up until now, no girl had come up to confess. It was all boys. Actually, there were girls who had crushes on other boys, but they didn't go up because they were too embarrassed. What was even more unexpected was that the first girl to confess was Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao walked up the stage and picked up the microphone very naturally, not showing any stage fright at all. I know that my confession this time won't work, but I've been waiting for you for a long time, so I've been waiting for you. But in order to be a role model for all the girls, I've decided to be the first. Lin Yi watched as Xiao Xiao went up. His heart tightened. This girl wasn't going to confess to him, was she? If he'd known this would happen, Lin Yi would have confessed to Tang Yun first. It was supposed to be a good thing, but Xiao Xiao's interference changed everything. Xiao Xiao's name was still very famous. The little witch had left for 2 years, but now that she was back, most of the 12th grade students still remembered her. So, whether it was flattery or sincere cheering, everyone cheered. As for me, I'm going to confess to someone today. I'm sure that this person knows that I'm confessing to him. I know that he won't accept my confession on stage. That's why I won't say his name. Xiao Xiao looked in Lin Yi's direction and smiled. All right, my confession is over. Let's continue. With that, Xiao Xiao walked down the stage casually. Xiao Xiao's confession surprised Lin Yi. At the same time, he felt that this was really a strange and smart girl. She didn't say Lin Yi's name on this occasion, but her purpose of confession had been achieved. She didn't want to embarrass herself. It would not bring any trouble to Lin Yi, which made Lin Yi feel that. Xiao Xiao was hard to deal with. He didn't know what this girl was thinking. After Xiao Xiao's confession was over, Lin Yi didn't wait any longer. He walked up to the temporary gymnasium, ready to confess to Tang Yun. Lin Yi had replaced Zhou Ruoming and Pin Liang as the new Big Four, and pretty much everyone knew about Lin Yi and Tang Yun. So, when Lin Yi got on stage, the crowd started chanting Tang Yun's name, helping Lin Yi. Tang Yun's face was very red. She was surprised by Xiao Xiao's confession as well, but Xiao Xiao had obviously left some leeway so that it wouldn't embarrass everyone. Tang Yun had a good impression of Xiao Xiao. Tang Yun got on stage under everyone's chanting, and Lin Yi didn't say anything either. He just handed the heart card and flowers to Tang Yun. All the words he wanted to say were in this card and flowers. Tang Yun blushed as she accepted the card and flowers, but when she picked up the heart card, she was a little surprised. Tang Yun clearly remembered that Yushu bought this card this morning. Wasn't she going to confess to Lin Yi? Why did she give the card to Lin Yi? Could it be that Lin Yi gave it to her? Tang Yun opened the card curiously and saw that it was Lin Yi's handwriting. It was simple, but it tugged at her heartstrings. Can't forget the summer, the shade, the ring, the promise. One short line, but it expressed Lin Yi's heartfelt feelings, as well as Lin Yi's lifelong promise to her. Tang Yun planned to treasure this card forever, put it in a frame, and put it on her bed, but this also proved that this card wasn't a prop for Yushu to confess to Lin Yi. It was a real gift to Lin Yi. There was no meaning to it. Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao and Yushu, a look of gratitude in her eyes. No matter what, she was very satisfied with today's confession event. Both Xiao Xiao and Yushu hadn't messed around, and they hadn't messed around with her. Yushu looked at Tang Yun's figure on stage, a little envious. Yao Yao, it's all your fault. You didn't let me go up there, otherwise I'd confess to Shield Bro. He'd definitely accept it. Keep dreaming, Meng Yao said disdainfully. If he doesn't come up, I'll tell him about how he kissed me and saw me naked. Yushu said. You can tell him if you don't think it's embarrassing, Meng Yao said casually.
Oh.
Forget it then. Yushu sighed and mumbled to herself. I'll leave sooner or later anyway. I'm just a passerby. I just want to leave behind a beautiful memory. What did you say? Meng Yao didn't hear it clearly, not knowing what Yushu said. Nothing. Yushu shook her head and sighed. Meng Yao didn't understand what Yushu was talking about, and she didn't know that after a certain amount of time, she, Tang Yun, Xiao Xiao, and Yushu would all leave one by one and reunite with them one by one. This period of high school had turned into a beautiful memory. Recalling it in another time and place, he was filled with emotions. But no one could predict the future, not even Prophet Shu. Otherwise, the four of them confessing to Lin Yi would make this memory even more beautiful. The confession event ended satisfactorily, without any trouble. Jifeng let out a breath of relief. Tomorrow's event would be the last group activity before graduation, and Jifeng would participate the whole time. He didn't want anything to happen. Chapter 2686. Haha, Xiaoka, I just had nothing better to do, so I called you. Lin Yi really didn't have anything to do this time. It was the male thief who wanted to go to Zhang Liju's tomb, not Lin Yi.
Ah.
Nothing? Xiaoka's face darkened. She was right, Lin Yi really did have feelings for her. Otherwise, why would he call her for nothing? Xiaoka didn't have a good impression of Lin Yi, but Lin Yi wasn't someone who had nothing better to do. Yeah, but I do have something to do. Are you free this Friday night? Lin Yi asked. Huh? This Friday? Xiaoka paused, stunned. Was Lin Yi asking her out? Was he asking her out on a date? Going out for dinner? What was meant to come had finally come. I have some ideas for the future of the orphanage that I want to talk to you. If you don't want to go, then forget it, Lin Yi said faintly. I'll go. Xiaoka gritted her teeth. Haha, that's fine. I thought you didn't want to build the orphanage anymore. Lin Yi felt that teasing Xiaoka was quite interesting, especially after having two identities. Lin Yi had a weird sense of humor when Xiaoka flipped out. But for dinner, I'm a big eater, so I won't go if I don't have enough to eat. Let's get this straight. How much are you going to pay me? Xiaoka asked. 1,000. That should be enough, right? Lin didn't expect Xiaoka to say this, but he answered anyway. 1,800. That's not enough. It's not even enough to fill my teeth. It's at least 18,000. Is that okay? Xiaoka asked back. Lin Yi was speechless. 1,000 became 18,000, but Lin Yi didn't mind it too much. He nodded. All right, 18,000 is fine. See you this weekend. Xiaoka hung up the phone and sighed helplessly. What should she do now? What should he do? Should I make it clear to Lin Yi then? But what if Lin Yi stopped building the orphanage out of anger? But if he didn't make it clear, could it be that he had to submit to Lin Yi? If that happened, Xiaoka wouldn't feel good about it. What about the male thief? Xiaoka was in a dilemma. But just as Xiaoka was in a dilemma, her phone rang again. She thought it was still Lin Yi, but when she picked it up, she realized that it was an unfamiliar number. Xiaoka picked up the phone, confused. Hello. Is that the Flying Sparrow heroine? Lin Yi pretended to be the male thief's voice. He used the school's public phone to make the call. Since he was pretending to be the male thief, he naturally couldn't use his phone number. You're a male thief? Xiaoka heard the voice and the way he addressed her. She immediately realized that the caller was a male thief. She was extremely excited. Male thief, it really is you? I've missed you so much. You finally called me. Lin Yi didn't know what to say from Xiaoka's sudden change in attitude. Wasn't this change a little too fast? After calming himself down, Lin Yi said, It's me, male thief.
Why are you looking for me?
Xiaoka asked.
Or, do you miss me? Why don't you call me?
It's like this. I want to go to Zhang Liju's tomb again to get something. Do you have time? Do you want to go with me? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, I'll go with you. Xiaoka didn't even think about it before agreeing to go on a date with Lin Yi. Her gloomy mood was swept away. All right, let's go this Friday night. We'll go together. Lin Yi said. All right.
What?
Friday night? Xiaoka paused. She remembered that Lin Yi asked her out, and her heart skipped a beat. Why did Lin Yi have to ask her out now? Of all the times, why did he have to ask her out now? It was the same time as the male thieves. What's wrong? Do you have something to do? Lin Yi pretended to be surprised. Oh, nothing. It's just that a friend asked me out for dinner. It's also Friday. Xiaoka didn't want to lie to the male thief, so she told him the truth. Friend asked you out for dinner? Boyfriend? Lin Yi purposely asked. If you don't have time, then don't, never mind. He's not my boyfriend. He's just one of my pursuers. Xiaoka quickly said. But I don't like him anymore. Oh, I didn't say never mind. What I meant was, why don't you eat first and we can leave after dinner? Lin Yi said. But if you don't like him, why are you still going out with him? Wasn't it because I had no other choice? Xiaoka said gloomily. He's the biggest donor to the orphanage. At first, I thought that he just wanted to help the orphanage, and that's what he said. But later, he seemed to be interested in me, and I was afraid that he wouldn't continue donating to the orphanage, so I could only agree to his request to have a meal with me. I see. But Xiaoka, to be honest, you should consider it. He must really like you if he keeps donating to you. He's someone who cares about you. I think you'll be happy if you're with him, right? Lin Yi said, trying to sound like a gentleman. But I only like you, Xiaoka said. If I didn't know you, I might consider it, but now I really don't want to be with anyone else.
Xiaoka said.
Don't worry, I'm actually tricking him. I asked him to give me 18,000 to treat me to a meal, and I'll treat him to a roadside stall after I get the money, and then I'll take the rest, hee. I see. Lin Yi sweated as he listened to Xiaoka's evil laughter. This girl wanted to trick him, and now she told him. That's right. Then I'll look for you after the meal. Call me halfway, and I'll find an excuse to leave. How's that? Xiaoka asked. Call you? Lin Yi thought, I'm eating with you. How can I call you? I don't have a phone, and it's troublesome to call you, so why don't you find an excuse yourself? I see. That's fine. I'll think of something. If he doesn't let me go, I'll keep tricking him, and when he runs out of money, he'll let me go. Xiaoka said. Chapter 2687. Tang Yuqi's invitation, however, Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Wasn't it more interesting this way? If Xiaoke fell in love with Lin Yi, it would be a very difficult challenge. Lin Yi felt that it was a good game. To be honest, Lin Yi quite liked Xiaoke, and he didn't want her to continue like this. This girl would do anything for the children in the orphanage, and she even did some dangerous things. Lin Yi was afraid that she would die if she wasn't careful. All right, it's settled then. I'll wait for you at the entrance of the orphanage. Whoever gets there first will wait for each other, Lin Yi said. Okay, I'll see you there, Xiaoke said happily. Okay, see you there. Lin Yi shook his head and hung up. On the other side, after confirming the time with Xiaoke, Lin Yi called Boss Bai and told him that they would leave on Friday night. He told Boss Bai to prepare in advance. Boss Bai was fine with it as well. Lingshan received another call from Tang Yuqi. Lingshan had been playing along with Tang Yuqi, secretly observing his character. But Tang Yuqi wasn't a normal person. He was a detective, and he'd already noticed that Lingshan was hiding something from him. Because Tang Yuqi was a detective, he didn't act rashly. He used the care and patience of a detective and decided to become friends with Lingshan first, and then slowly find out the truth. Miss Song, are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you to dinner to thank you for your help all this time. Although I haven't heard anything from my second uncle, I'm very grateful that you've been helping me ask around, Tang Yuqi said. Lingshan hesitated. Tang Yuqi's words were so dignified that she couldn't reject him. Miss Song, you won't reject me, right? Tang Yuqi smiled. All right then. Lingshan actually wanted to observe Tang Yuqi's character and understand his true intentions and background, so she agreed. After all, Tang Yun's matter wasn't a small matter. She couldn't just tell Tang Yuqi about it. The dinner was arranged at a Western restaurant near the police station. Western food was synonymous with romance here, and most of the people who went there were couples. Lingshan and Tang Yuqi eating at a place like this would cause a lot of misunderstandings. Lingshan wanted to refuse, but Tang Yuqi was a Westerner who had just returned from overseas, and eating Western food would be as normal as eating at home. So Lingshan agreed. During dinner, the two only talked about Tang Yuqi's family. Lingshan didn't mention anything about Tang Yun and Tang Juqing, but Tang Yuqi wasn't in a rush to ask. It was as if he was expressing his gratitude to Lingshan, and this made Lingshan sigh in relief. But through this dinner, Lingshan realized that Tang Yuqi wasn't a bad person. She didn't know if he was just acting or not. Lingshan wouldn't open her mouth before she had a proper understanding of the situation. Time flew, and it was Friday night. Lin Yi carried a big backpack and went to Songshan in Boss Bai's car. Lin Yi didn't drive. If he did, it would be easy for Xiaoke to see through him. Boss Bai had a car as well, so he got in Boss Bai's car. In his backpack, Lin Yi had the Skybolt pig and Thousand Silk mask. He didn't bring the male thief's mask. There was no need for it. I'll go visit her grandpa with Xian later. You go eat first, call me when you're done, Boss Bai said to Lin Yi. All right. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi, be careful. Guan Xian heard that Lin Yi and Boss Bai were going to the tomb. She couldn't help but feel nervous. Lin Yi had been there once before, but she knew how dangerous the tomb was. She was worried because of the lingering fear. It's fine. This time is different from last time. With experience and with Skybolt Pig, it shouldn't be a problem. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had quite a lot of confidence. In fact, the second time he went to the tomb, it was because he met Skybolt Pig that the journey was very smooth. After all, Skybolt Pig's familiarity with the tomb far exceeded Lin Yi and Xiaoke's. That's good. Guan Xian let out a breath of relief. She was a little envious of Xiaoke. She could go on adventure with Lin Yi, while she could only stand at a distance and watch Lin Yi. Guan Xian didn't ask for much, but she still hoped that she could become someone who could help Lin Yi, someone who could be useful to Lin Yi. Guan Xian swore to herself that she'd learn alchemy and help Lin Yi in the future. She'd become someone useful to Lin Yi. Otherwise, there'd be too many pretty girls around Lin Yi who'd only have pretty faces around him. Mr. Bai, have you thought about what I told you last time? Lin Yi asked. You're talking about recovery? Boss Bai immediately understood what Lin Yi was talking about. Yes, that's right. Lin Yi said, if you want to recover, there's no time like the present. Let's do it before we enter the tomb. I've thought about it. If it's possible, I'd naturally want to recover. But wouldn't that be a burden to you? Boss Bai hesitated for a moment and asked, I know that the spiritual energy of a cultivator is not for nothing. It is cultivated through hard work. I know that better than you. I'm afraid that it takes a lot of spiritual energy to heal someone. You've just treated Jing Jing. Do you still have the energy to care about me? Plus, we're going to explore the tomb soon. Wouldn't that affect the plan? That won't happen. Lin Yi shook his head. We're all on the same side here, and I'll be honest with you. I can help you recover, and even recover your strength, but because of my level restriction, I can only restore your strength to Mystic Late Phase Peak. Eat a small Qi Gathering pill, and you'll be able to reach Earth Class Early Phase, but you'll be stuck there for the time being. Oh? What do you mean? Boss Bai was briefly stunned. Then he said, Are you suggesting that you can help me improve my capability to the peak of the late phase of the Mystic Class? After I take a minor Qi Gathering pill and become an Earth Class expert, I won't be able to level up again? You could say that, unless you have a Qi Gathering pill, Lin Yi said. Chapter 2688. Yu Xiaoka's treat, that's right, that's it. Maybe when I become a Sky Class, I can raise your strength to Earth Class Late Phase Peak. Lin Yi said, that's a drawback. If you don't agree, then I can only heal your injuries and you can train on your own. That way, you won't be restricted. Train on my own? Boss Bai smiled bitterly after hearing Lin Yi's words. You don't think that my training on my own will be faster than you helping me, do you? When you become a Sky Class, I probably won't even be able to step into the Mystic Class. Compared to the Earth Class Late Phase Peak, it's naturally easier for you to help me. But you used to be a Heaven Class Late Phase Peak, right? Lin Yi didn't even need to ask to know that Boss Bai must have been a Sky Class Late Phase Peak Master. Otherwise, how could Boss Bai not be a Sky Class Late Phase Peak Master if even his disciples were Sky Class Late Phase Peak Masters? Boss Bai was the head of the 5 Element sect. You're right, but you have to figure out how I got my Heaven rank late stage strength. First of all, that place is rich in spiritual energy and there are countless treasures. There are all kinds of elixirs and cultivation resources. Naturally, the speed at which I improve my strength is not the same as now. Boss Bai explained, back then, my training could be said to be 1,000 miles a day, but now it's not bad to be able to reach 1 mile 1,000 days. There's no comparison at all. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. He had forgotten about this before. Boss Bai was no different from a solo cultivator now. If he trained on his own, there wouldn't be any effect at all. And in that place, thinking about how Little 1 and Little 11 didn't even care about the energy stones in Sun Jingyi's hands, just how rich were the training resources in their sect. Although the energy in that energy stone was almost used up, if it were any other cultivator, they wouldn't let it go, right? But in the eyes of Little 1 and Little 11, it was just trash. So, if possible, please help me and Xin to improve our strength. If Xin cultivates with me, she won't be able to achieve much in her life unless... Boss Bai paused and did not continue. You're right. You're right. You're right. What's wrong? Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. Nothing. Boss Bai shook his head. There are some things that you'd better not know for now. Lin Yi nodded and didn't ask any questions. That's right. That's my plan for Guan Xian. I'm going to raise her strength all the way until she's the same as Jing Jing. As for you, if you've made up your mind, then there's no problem. I'll raise your strength first tonight. Thanks a lot. Although Boss Bai had guessed the result, he was still thrilled that Lin Yi agreed in person. You don't have to thank me. You and I are master and disciple, and the disciple will do his best to heal his injuries. Plus, you're going to risk your life for the tomb, because of my constitution? Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. Then I won't say thank you. Actually, apart from helping you, I also want to go to the ancient tomb to take a look. After all, this is the ancient tomb of our 5 Elements sect's founder. Boss Bai said. As they spoke, the car arrived at Guan Xuemin's villa area. Lin Yi followed Boss Bai and Guan Xian out of the car. Lin Yi wanted to visit Guan Shuamin first before going to find Xiaoke. Guan Shuamin was very excited when he found out that Lin Yi, his granddaughter, and his old friend were coming today. He was waiting at the entrance of the villa, and when he saw Boss Bai's car, he went up immediately. "Old Bai Lil Ishinshin, you're back," Guan Shuamin said.
Grandpa.
Guan Xian hadn't seen her grandpa for a long time. She missed him very much. "Shinshin, how was it? Were you obedient in Grandpa Bai's house?" Guan Shuamin asked with a smile. Grandpa and granddaughter met, old friend met, and it was a happy and harmonious reunion. Lin Yi didn't stay for dinner because he had a date with Xiaoke. Lin Yi carried his backpack and left the villa. He didn't drive, but walked to the orphanage. On the way, Lin Yi called Xiaoke. Xiaoke was in a state of restlessness today. She was a little afraid that Lin Yi would call, but Lin Yi finally called. "Hello?" Xiaoke saw the caller ID of Lin Yi and sighed in her heart. She picked up the phone. "Xiaoke, it's me." Lin Yi said, "I'm at the entrance of the orphanage now. Where are you?" I'll go out then." Xiaoke answered helplessly. She thought to herself, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. "Okay." Lin Yi nodded with a smile. After a while, Xiaoke walked out of the orphanage and saw Lin Yi standing there with his backpack. Xiaoke felt strange. Why didn't Lin Yi drive his car here? "Xiaoke, you're so pretty." Lin Yi looked at Xiaoke. She had obviously dressed up today, but Lin Yi knew that she was dressing up to give herself another identity. It wasn't the current Lin Yi. "Oh," Xiaoke replied faintly. Lin Yi guessed right. Xiaoke was dressing up for the male thief. After eating with Lin Yi, she probably wouldn't have time to dress up, so she had to dress up beforehand. "I'm not dressing up for you." Haha. Lin Yi didn't mind at all. Lin Yi knew the truth. Naturally, he wouldn't argue with Xiaoke about it. What Xiaoke didn't know was that Lin Yi was laughing at her sarcasm. Just how thick was this guy's skin? "Where's the money?" Xiaoke couldn't be bothered to argue with Lin Yi. She reached out her hand. Lin Yi smiled and took out 2 stacks of money from his pocket. He was about to count out 20 bills from one of the stacks and give the rest to Xiaoke, but Xiaoke snatched it away from him. "What are you doing?" Lin Yi asked. "No need to count, keep the change." Xiaoke didn't wait for Lin Yi to reply. "Didn't you want to treat me to a meal? Let's go, I'll take you there." "Oh, okay." Lin Yi nodded and followed behind Xiaoke. The two turned here and there and came to a small alley. It was a food street in Donghai City. There were all sorts of snacks on this street, and it was very lively. Chapter 2689. What's in the bag? Noodles? Can you eat 18,000? Lin Yi had guessed Xiaoke's intentions, but he was still speechless when she brought him here to eat shaved noodles that cost a few yuan a bowl. "I didn't say I'd finish it today. I'll eat the rest tomorrow and the day after. I'll finish it sooner or later if I eat it every day, month after month," Xiaoke said nonchalantly. Xiaoke said nonchalantly and waved at the boss. "Boss, give me 2 big bowls of knife-shaved noodles." "Sure, do you want meat and eggs?" the boss asked. "No need." Xiaoke shook her head. "What about the side dishes?" the boss asked. "I don't want it either." Xiaoke rejected. "I think the side dishes here are pretty good. Why don't we get one?" Lin Yi looked at the side dishes. They were pretty good, especially the side dishes. The red oil was very tempting. "I don't want it." "Then I want one for myself?" Lin Yi asked. "You eat it yourself. It's not your treat," Xiaoke said. "All right, I'll pay for it myself." Lin Yi guessed that Xiaoke was a stingy person. He stood up with a smile and asked the boss to bring 2 plates of side dishes. He then paid for the 2 bowls of noodles. The side dishes and shaved noodles were placed on the table at almost the same time. Xiaoke picked up the chopsticks and started eating the side dishes without hesitation. She didn't even have time to eat the noodles before she finished all the side dishes on the table. "Didn't you say that the side dishes aren't good?" Lin Yi sweated as he looked at the way Xiaoke was wolfing down the food. He felt a little sad as well. Xiaoke was handling tens of millions of dollars at a time, but judging from the way she was eating, she probably didn't have anything good to eat. Otherwise, she wouldn't be wolfing down the food like a wolf. Oh, the usual ones aren't good. Today's is pretty good. Don't tell me you don't want to treat me because I ate too much? Then I'll go? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi. Her face not red nor her heart skipped a beat. Then you eat. Lin Yi smiled and called for 2 more dishes, but Xiaoka glared at him. You want so much, wouldn't it be a waste if you can't finish it? Xiaoka stopped the owner and only asked him to add a side dish. Squeak squeak. Skybolt Pig smelled the aroma of the food and started to squeak. This little pig had been living with Lin Yi for a long time, so it started to eat human food. After all the true qi it cultivated came from Lin Yi, so it didn't need to eat any natural treasures anymore. It didn't have much to eat, so it just ate human food. Unexpectedly, this little guy became addicted to it. Other than pork, it even ate dog meat. In the end, it was beaten up by General Weiwu. Lin Yi furrowed his brows, startled. This heavenly lightning pig was really good at causing trouble. What was it shouting at this time? Didn't he want Xiaoka to notice him? As expected, Xiaoka heard the squeak and looked at Lin Yi strangely. What's in your bag? Why is it making weird noises? Oh, it's an inflatable toy. Lin Yi said casually as he raised his fist and punched the bag twice. The pig squeaked again in pain, but this time it didn't make any more noises. Inflatable toy? Xiaoka paused and thought it was an inflatable doll. She scoffed. Disgusting. She couldn't blame her for thinking wrongly. Lin Yi was already so old, and there was no way he'd buy a child's inflatable toy. The only thing he could play with was an inflatable doll and one that could make noises. And so, Xiaoka naturally thought that the jijiji sound was the sound of an inflatable doll seducing a man. How shameless. An inflatable doll could say dick? Lin Yi was confused by Xiaoka's scolding. Why was it disgusting to have an inflatable toy in his bag? However, Xiaoka naturally wouldn't explain it to Lin Yi. She just wanted to finish eating quickly and spend some time with Lin Yi. Although she knew that Lin Yi was probably looking for trouble and finding an excuse to eat with her, she still asked cautiously, Lin Yi, don't you have a development plan for the orphanage that you want to talk to me about? Oh, the development plan for the orphanage. Lin Yi nodded. He did consider this seriously, and he didn't mean to lie to Xiaoka. There are more and more children in the orphanage now. Have you considered letting them go to school? Go to school? Xiaoka paused, recalling the past. Going to school was something the children of the orphanage yearned for. Once upon a time, Xiaoka envied the children who were able to go to school, but she knew that the orphanage wasn't rich enough to pay for their tuition. She buried the thought in her heart and never mentioned it to the dean. What do you think? Lin Yi's eyes lit up, and his eyes lit up. But now that Lin Yi brought it up, Xiaoka couldn't help but think about the future of the children in the orphanage. In the past, when the children were young, they would take on the responsibility of the orphanage when they grew up. Just like Xiaoka and Ken, they became the workers of the orphanage, dedicating their youth to the other children in the orphanage. It wasn't that this wasn't good, but there were more and more children in the orphanage now. There would be more and more children in the future, and the orphanage wouldn't need these people. What were these children going to do? Many of these children had congenital diseases, and even if they were cured, their bodies were much weaker than normal children. Without knowledge and skills, and with poor health, what could they do in society? People wouldn't even want them to move bricks at construction sites, right? People had to be strong and experienced to move bricks, and these children couldn't do it at all. How were these children going to survive like this? The orphanage couldn't take care of them for the rest of their lives, could it? The orphanage's expenses were very tight right now, and it was a joke to take care of these children for the rest of their lives. Xiaoka started to think about the future after Lin Yi reminded her. That's right, these children can't be like you, becoming thieves when they grow up, right? You don't want them to be like that, right? Lin Yi asked. Are you looking down on me? Xiaoka glared at Lin Yi. Nope, I wouldn't treat you to a meal if I looked down on you. Lin Yi said, I'm telling you this because I want you to get out of it as soon as possible. Girls age easily when they're too tired, and I don't want you to become an old woman too early. Chapter 20, 690. I don't know what to say with your attitude. Linny shrugged and said angrily. Fine, Linny. What do you want? Xiaoka was helpless. What do you want me to do? Do you really have to force me? I told you that I have someone I like. Why are you? Oh, I didn't say anything then. Linny lowered his head and ate his noodles, not bringing up the topic again. Xiaoka gritted her teeth in anger, but there was nothing she could do. She didn't want to compromise, but there was nothing she could do. She panicked, and her tears started to fall. Her tears were like raindrops, dripping down into the bowl. Linny didn't think that Xiaoka would cry. This strong girl actually cried. How wronged was she? Linny didn't think that his joke would hurt Xiaoka so much. Linny couldn't bear it and sighed. I'm going to talk to Pengzhan Industries and let the children of the right age go to school. Currently, Pengzhan Industries' first high school only has a middle school and doesn't have a primary school yet. If there's a need, I'll suggest them to open a primary school for the orphanage. Is that really possible? Xiaoka heard Linny's words and didn't care about her tears anymore. Her mind was on the children in the orphanage. She raised her head and looked at Linny with her big, watery eyes. Then, you don't have any additional conditions, right? Additional conditions? Linny paused and understood what Xiaoka meant. He shook his head and smiled. No, it's all for the orphanage. That's good. Thank you. Xiaoka stood up and bowed to Linny. Linny, you're actually a good person, I know that. If I didn't have someone I like, I would definitely be with you. But now I really have no other choice. I'm sorry. Is this a good person card? Linny touched his nose and asked. I don't know. Xiaoka shook her head. I won't give up, Linny said. I knew it. Xiaoka lowered her head helplessly and glared at Linny. Fine, up to you. I'll send you back? Seeing that Xiaoka was almost done, Linny didn't want to sit there anymore. After all, this was a food street with a lot of customers. Linny and Xiaoka occupying a table would affect the boss's business. We can go now? That's great. Xiaoka stood up and waved her hand. It's fine. I'll go back myself. Go do your stuff, don't worry about me. Okay. Linny smiled. It seemed like Xiaoka didn't want to stay with him for even a minute longer. However, Linny didn't want to send Xiaoka back. He needed to find a place to wear his clothes inside out and put on the 1,000 silk mask. You aren't sending me back? Linny answered so quickly that Xiaoka felt like it was unreal. Didn't you say you didn't want me to send you back? How about I send you back? Linny asked. It's fine, I'm leaving. Bye. Xiaoka shook her head and left quickly. Linny left as well, but he didn't go in the same direction as Xiaoka. Linny found a place with no one around and put the clothes on inside out. This was the type that could be worn inside out, very suitable for traveling in the wild. Linny also wore the 1,000 silk mask on his face. At this moment, Linny became a stranger, exactly the same as when he was at the practitioner's market. After doing all this, Linny came to the orphanage again. Xiaoka was already waiting there. Male thief. Xiaoka saw Linny from afar and waved at him happily and excitedly. She must have been looking forward to seeing him for a long time. The gloominess from eating with Linny was gone, and she looked like a completely different person. Linny smiled bitterly and walked over. Flying Sparrow, are you ready? I told you to call me Xiaoka. Why are you calling me Xiaoka? Why are you calling me Flying Sparrow? It sounds so distant, Xiaoka said as she looked up and down at Linny. You came alone? You didn't drive? She didn't know why, but Xiaoka felt that this male thief looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before. Especially his backpack, but he didn't seem to be carrying this backpack last time. It was understandable that Xiaoka didn't think of Linny. She didn't even pay attention to Linny's clothing before. Why would she pay attention to a person that she disliked? Xiaoka, I came with someone. This person is one of my masters. He'll drive over later, let's wait for him, Linny said. Oh, your master? Xiaoka paused. Linny introduced her to his master. Did that mean he approved of her? Xiaoka had lost her parents at a young age, and her brother wasn't by her side, either. She grew up thinking that her master was the most important thing in the world, and Lin Yi bringing her to his master meant that he approved of her. Xiaoke was very excited. And I just found out that he's Zhang Liju's heir, so I wanted to go to the tomb to take a look. Lin Yi didn't tell Xiaoke about his constitution. After all, it wasn't a secret that Lin Yi could talk about, especially with his identity as a male thief. It wasn't something that Lin Yi could do. Doesn't that mean you're Zhang Liju's heir as well? We're going to rob a tomb. Xiaoke jumped and stuck her tongue out. Does that count as betraying my master? Of course not. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Even if Master Zhang Liju was still alive, he'd probably be very happy that his disciples and grand-disciples were going to rob a tomb and get his teachings. After all, everyone wants their sect to be able to last for a long time. He'd only be happy that we got his life's work. That's true, Xiaoke nodded. Then I don't have to worry. Did you eat tonight? I did, Lin Yi replied casually. Oh, I ate too. What did you eat? Xiaoke asked. Lin Yi was observing the cars on the road, and when he saw Boss Bai's Audi driving over, Lin Yi said absent-mindedly, Didn't we just eat knife-shaved noodles together? What did you say? Knife-shaved noodles. Xiaoke paused. Oh. Lin Yi realized that he was spacing out and quickly said, I said I was eating knife-shaved noodles with my master. His car is here, let's go. Chapter 20, 691. Sorry to keep you waiting, right? Boss Bai didn't recognize Lin Yi's mask, but he recognized Lin Yi's clothes and backpack, so he naturally stopped the car and got off. Xiaoke turned to Lin Yi. What did he call you? Oh, my real name is Lu Yi. Lin Yi randomly made up a name for himself. Lu Yi? Oh. Xiaoke nodded. His name was so similar to Lin Yi's, but his character was worlds apart. If Lin Yi was 1/10 as good as Lu Yi, she wouldn't have to treat him like that. In reality, Xiaoke was blinded by love. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and Lin Yi and Lu Yi were the same person, but she treated them as two extremes. Boss Bai knew that he had made a slip of the tongue. Lin Yi told him that they had to hide their identity when they went to the tomb, but he pointed out Lin Yi's name right away. Luckily, Lin Yi reacted fast and made up a name for himself. On the surface, there didn't seem to be any flaws, or else he would have been exposed. This is Boss Bai. You can also call him Teacher Bai. Lin Yi didn't give Xiaoke too much time to react as he introduced Boss Bai. Hello, Teacher Bai, I'm Lu Yi's friend, Xiaoke. Xiaoke bowed to Boss Bai gently and respectfully. She was a completely different person from her usual impulsive Xiaoke. Haha, hello, I've heard he mention you a lot, Boss Bai said politely. He didn't have to worry about saying the wrong thing now.
Is that so?
Xiaoke was pleasantly surprised. Even the male thief's teacher mentioned her a lot, so the male thief must have a good impression of her. Let's go now. Boss Bai said, We'll scout the area tonight, and we'll enter the tomb tomorrow morning. Okay, let's go then. Xiaoke nodded and got in the car with him, sitting in the back seat. Lin Yi directed Boss Bai to drive. This time, Lin Yi didn't enter the tomb from the robber's hole but from the exit, which would save him a lot of time and wouldn't be too dangerous. Under the guidance of Lin Yi, the car quickly arrived at the nearest place nearby. They had to walk the rest of the way. Lin Yi and the other two got off the car and walked towards the exit of the ancient tomb. All three of them had very good stamina. Although Boss Bai was no longer a warrior, walking a long distance was not a problem at all. It was just that his speed was not fast enough. An hour later, the three of them arrived at the open space in front of the exit of the tomb. It's here. Lin Yi pointed at the entrance of the tomb. GG. Skybolt Pig seemed to have felt the aura of the tomb, and he felt like he had returned home. He immediately cried out excitedly in Lin Yi's bag. Lin Yi just remembered that he'd forgotten to summon the Skybolt Pig. He'd forgotten about this little guy. Skybolt Pig was probably having a hard time. He was beaten by Lin Yi earlier, so he didn't dare to make any noise along the way. He endured it until they reached the entrance of the tomb, and finally, He couldn't take it anymore. He called out to remind Lin Yi of his existence despite the risk of being beaten again. What's that sound? Xiaoke looked at Lin Yi confusedly. Why did it sound so familiar? It seemed like... Oh, it's Skybolt Pig. Lin Yi quickly let out Skybolt Pig to divert Xiaoke's attention. Lin Yi realized that it wasn't that easy to disguise as two people, especially in front of the same person, and when Lin Yi didn't pay much attention. It's this little fellow. I haven't seen him for a long time, I miss him. As expected, Xiaoke's attention was immediately attracted to Skybolt Pig. She picked up the little fellow and looked at it affectionately. After a while, she was shocked. He's already a Mystic Class late phase peak spirit beast? Haha, I can help others increase their strength. Didn't you know that back in the tomb?
Lin Yi asked.
Back then, Xiaoke wasn't familiar with Lin Yi back then, so she didn't ask him in detail. She wasn't clear about it now, but it didn't matter. She was shocked. You can help spirit beasts increase their strength? Then why don't you do it to Sky Class? Lin Yi was speechless. I'm already at my limit. I can't increase it any further. Oh. Xiaoke nodded. Lin Yi's words brought her back to reality. Yeah, it was a joke to be able to increase a spirit beast to Sky Class. Lin Yi quickly set up the tent. Lin Yi brought 2 tents, one for him and Boss Bai, and the other for Xiaoke. The food was compressed biscuits. After the tent was set up, Xiaoke thought that Lin Yi would be in the same tent as her. She was a little excited because Boss Bai was a teacher, so naturally he would have his own tent. Naturally, she would be with Lin Yi, but what she didn't expect was that Lin Yi and Boss Bai would enter the tent together. Male thief, you guys together? Xiaoke wasn't satisfied. She finally had a chance to be alone with Lin Yi. Even if they didn't do anything, they could at least talk to each other. I'm helping Master Bai heal. He's a little injured. Xiaoke, if you're not tired, you can help us too. Lin Yi said. Okay, then I'll sit next to you. Xiaoke was happy again. Although she couldn't talk to Lin Yi too secretly with Boss Bai by her side, she was satisfied as long as she could be with Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't say much and sat cross-legged with Boss Bai in the tent. He held the pulse on Boss Bai's wrist while Xiaoke looked at Lin Yi's healing method curiously. Male thief, you're using pure qi to heal you? Xiaoke was curious. She was an external practitioner, but she knew a little about internal practitioners. Are you guys able to heal each other because you're from the same sect, or are you able to heal everyone's injuries? Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Are you guys able to heal each other because you're from the same sect? Xiaoke, Lil Yi is healing me. If you have any questions, can you ask him later? Don't disturb him? Boss Bai jumped, afraid that Xiaoke would disturb Lin Yi. Chapter 2692. Haha, it's fine. Lin Yi didn't mind. Lin Yi was multitasking right now. He was healing Boss Bai, observing the situation outside, and chatting with Xiaoke at the same time. When he entered the Jade space, he'd practiced multitasking. He had to make sure that he wasn't in danger when he was healing, so it wasn't a big deal if he had to talk to Xiaoke. As for what you said, whether or not I can heal others depends on the situation, Lin Yi said with a smile. Lin Yi didn't say anything definite because he didn't want to promise Xiaoke that he wouldn't be able to do it. Nothing was absolute, and Lin Yi didn't dare to guarantee anything. However, it seemed that Udake was very loyal to him. Udake didn't tell Xiaoke the details of Lin Yi healing him. Otherwise, Xiaoke wouldn't have asked this question. No, it was messed up again. Lin Yi shook his head. Lin Yi was the one who healed Udake, and his current identity was the male thief, Lin Yi. Oh, do you have a way to heal my injury? Xiaoke felt that she was asking too much after asking. Lin Yi might have to pay a huge price to heal Boss Bai, but it was his, and he wouldn't complain about it. But would he do the same for her? We'll see. Lin Yi didn't agree right away because he didn't know the past of the orphanage's director. From his perspective, there should be an unknown story behind the director, just like Faubert. Before Lin Yi figured out the pros and cons, he couldn't act rashly. Otherwise, if the director's enemies found out and tracked him here, wouldn't that cause trouble for him? Okay. Xiaoke could hear the perfunctory tone in Lin Yi's voice, but she was satisfied. After all, Lin Yi was a complete stranger to her, and asking a stranger to heal another stranger was a bit too much. Since Lin Yi said that he would wait and see, he must have taken her relationship into consideration. That was why he said that. While they were talking, Boss Bai felt that his wounded veins were recovering at an unbelievable speed. Boss Bai was adept at alchemy and pharmacology. He knew that no elixir, not even the ultra-quality Great Recovery Pill, could have such a rapid and marvelous effect. It was beyond his imagination. Any elixir was more awesome than he had imagined. No wonder Lin Yi said those words with such confidence. It turned out that Lin Yi had the confidence. In fact, the first level of the art of dragon mastery was already amazing when it healed people, and the second level was even faster, which was why Boss Bai was so shocked. Done? You're completely healed? Boss Bai stood up in disbelief and moved his body. He found that his wounds were all healed. It was unbelievable. His chronic illness was suddenly gone. Boss Bai didn't know what to say.
Done?
So fast. Xiaoke was surprised as well. She thought that healing Boss Bai was a daily task and that it would be a long process. But now it seemed that Boss Bai was healed in just a short while. If Xiaoke didn't know the male thief's personality, she would have thought that Lin Yi and Boss Bai were scammers. Not to mention healing internal injuries, even normal injuries couldn't be healed this quickly. Haha, it's alright. Lin Yi said, "Don't worry about your injuries. It's good that you know that I can heal people, but don't tell anyone. It's not good for me if more people know." "Yes, don't worry, I won't tell her. Before you decide to heal me, I won't tell her either," Xiaoke quickly guaranteed. After the tomb robbery incident last time, she had a better understanding of how evil people could be. She naturally knew that some people were greedy, and if she told anyone about the male thief, it would bring him a lot of trouble. "Alright, Master Bai. Should we continue to increase your strength now?" Lin Yi asked.
Now?
"Don't you need to rest?" Boss Bai was a little surprised. Lin Yi had just healed him, and it must have used up a lot of qi. He was surprised that Lin Yi wanted to increase his strength now. "No need. We can do it now." Lin Yi said, "Hurry up and start. Let's try to finish it before the sun rises tomorrow." "You're done so soon?" Boss Bai was even more surprised. He only realized today that Lin Yi's ability was far beyond his imagination. In time to come, Lin Yi might really be his hope to revive the Five Elements sect.
Yes.
Lin Yi nodded. "Teacher Bai, you just need to start channeling your practitioner's arts now. You don't need to do anything else. There'll be some pain when you level up, but you'll be recovering your strength, so the pain should be less." "Okay, I understand." Boss Bai nodded and started to use the martial arts according to Lin Yi's instructions. Lin Yi grabbed Boss Bai's pulse and started to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Boss Bai felt a stream of pure qi flowing into his meridians. Boss Bai was shocked, but he quickly started to work hard. It didn't take long for Boss Bai to enter the golden class from a normal person, becoming a golden class master in the early phase. Boss Bai didn't hide his strength at all, and this change in strength made Xiaoke speechless. But in the next moment, Xiaoke's shock turned into admiration. Not only could this male thief heal people's injuries quickly, but he could also increase their strength quickly as well. If this was real, would she be able to return to her peak strength when she wasn't injured? The old dean of the orphanage looked like an old lady, but Xiaoke knew that she wasn't very old. She was only 40 years old, and if she took good care of herself, she would look very youthful, but the old dean's face was full of wrinkles. This was all caused by internal injuries that blocked up the meridians in her body, and the dean had forcefully recovered a portion of her strength, causing her body to age prematurely. If Lin Yi could heal her injuries and recover them, she'd probably be many years younger in an instant. In fact, Xiaoke's guess was right. Grandma's son was like this. After Lin Yi healed her, she looked like she was only in her early 30s, completely different from the old scavenger. Chapter 2693. Although Lin Yi said that he could speak when he was channeling his practitioner's arts, Boss Bai couldn't. He didn't want to be distracted, afraid that his meridians would be blocked again. Early phase of golden class, early phase peak, mid phase of golden class. Late phase of golden class, late phase of golden class. Late phase of golden class, early phase of mystic class. Boss Bai's strength kept increasing, and Xiaoka's expression changed from shock and admiration to expressionless now.
She was used to it.
There was a saying, shock and surprise. You'll get used to it. Naturally, Boss Bai was used to it as well. He was numb to leveling up, and he finally believed Lin Yi when he said that he could go all the way to Mystic Class late phase peak. Finally, Boss Bai felt that Lin Yi had stopped transferring qi, and his strength stopped at late phase peak of Earth Class. He stood up and let out a long breath. Boss Bai, am back. Can my master recover this strength as well? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi hopefully. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. As long as I'm sure.
Thank you.
Xiaoka nodded gratefully. She knew that if it was possible, Lin Yi would do it. He wasn't someone who made promises easily. Is it really that amazing? I recovered just like that? Boss Bai only felt that his body was full of energy, and he looked a few years younger. And here's a small qi gathering pill. Take it. Lin Yi took out a small qi gathering pill and gave it to Boss Bai. This isn't too good, right? I'm already very grateful, and I still need your pill. Boss Bai was a little embarrassed. Master Bai, aren't you Lu Yi's master? Why are you being so polite? Xiaoka felt strange. In her eyes, it was perfectly normal for a disciple to give something to his master and help him heal. There was no need for too much explanation, but Boss Bai was so grateful that it didn't seem like they were master and disciple. Even teachers can't accept things from students casually. Boss Bai shook his head. All right, Mr. Bai, I've already said it. Why are you still so polite? Lin Yi forcefully stuffed the small qi gathering pill into Boss Bai's hand. Well, if that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. Boss Bai took a deep breath. He took the pill and swallowed it. A pure stream of true qi spread out from his dantian. Boss Bai hurriedly held his breath and operated his inner force mantra to dissolve the medicinal effect of the pill. Xiaoka looked at the white boss enviously and whispered to Lin Yi, male thief. I want to practice spiritual qi too.
Can you help me? Sure.
Lin Yi didn't hesitate this time and directly agreed. But do you have a suitable cultivation method?
Yes.
My brother said that my family has a secret art that has been passed down from generation to generation. It's suitable for girls to learn. Xiaoka said, that's the spiritual art. Can you help me increase my strength? That's possible. Lin Yi nodded. But why doesn't your brother practice it?
Right.
Since when did you have a brother? Oh, I didn't get to tell you yet. I found my long-lost brother. His name is Udake. He's the guy that I really hate, a guy who's chasing after me.
Sigh.
Although I'm very grateful to him, I already have you in my heart. I can't agree to him. Xiaoka sighed lightly.
Oh?
What's his name? Lin Yi asked, pretending not to know. He almost exposed himself today, so he had to clear his name. Otherwise, Xiaoka would find out sooner or later. Never mind, you wouldn't know him even if I told you. Let's not talk about him. Xiaoka didn't say Lin Yi's name. She was afraid that the male thief would cause trouble for Lin Yi. Lin Yi was quite strong now, and Xiaoka was afraid that the male thief wouldn't be able to fight him. Let's talk about my family's secret art. This spiritual art is purine, and I heard that it's a very powerful ancient art. Men can't practice it, only girls can.
Oh?
That's quite magical. It should be a special art, or else it wouldn't be called a family art. Lin Yi knew of some weird arts that could only be practiced by specific people. For example, Xiao Xiao's and his, weren't they also pure yang arts? Girls couldn't practice it, which was the opposite of Xiaoka's. Yeah, it's quite magical. Xiaoka said. My brother said he'll find a chance to give it to me. Okay, I'll help you look into it. Lin Yi nodded. Xiaoka did need to increase her strength a little, or else she'd be too weak and always doing dangerous things. Lin Yi really couldn't be at ease. Xiaoka was very happy. The male thief didn't give her a direct answer about her master, but he agreed to help her without hesitation. Xiaoka felt that the male thief really cared about her. Boss Bai was a patient man, and while the breakthrough of the small rejuvenation pill was a little painful, he didn't show any signs of it from his expression. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he wouldn't have been able to last until now after losing all his meridians. Thank you. Boss Bai, who had broken through to Earth class early phase, said to Lin Yi gratefully, but with my current strength, I can only make yellow class second level pills. I can't make yellow class third level pills yet, the chi supply can't keep up. Lin Yi nodded. Boss Bai was a second level golden class refiner, and with the addition of Guan Xian and Han Jingjing, it wouldn't be a problem for Lin Yi to refine a third level elixir if that combined practitioner's arts really worked and Lin Yi could practice it. The only limitation was that each practitioner could only practice one type of practitioner's art. Lin Yi couldn't change the one he was practicing. I told you, no need to thank me. Lin Yi waved his hand. It's already daylight. Should we rest for a bit before going, or should we go straight? Let's go straight. I'm full of energy right now, I don't need to rest at all. Boss Bai said, plus, I can't wait. What about you, Xiaoka? Lin Yi turned to look at Xiaoka. I'm fine, I also rested for a bit before. Xiaoka shook her head, indicating that she was fine. Chapter 2694. The weather was already very cold, and after they entered the tomb, a gust of cold air hit them in the face. The inside of the tomb was even more eerie. Xiaoka took out a searchlight and shone it on the path in front of them. Skybolt Pig had lived here for hundreds and thousands of years, and he was very familiar with the environment here. With Skybolt Pig leading the way, they didn't have to worry about any danger. In fact, when Lin Yi went back from here last time, he didn't encounter any danger. Although there were hidden weapons on this path, they were all attracted by the rain and sparks. These were all one-time use mechanisms, and they wouldn't have any effect after being used. So, very quickly, the three of them arrived at the life and death door. Although the inside of the tomb was eerie, it was smooth. Boss Bai was very excited. He knew that it was Lin Yi and Xiaoka's second time here, but he didn't expect it to be this smooth. Now, where should we go? Boss Bai asked excitedly. This is the death door. It's where Zhang Liju's coffin was, and it's also where Skybolt Pig used to live. There's nothing inside, but this is where Zhang Liju used to store his belongings. My fushi needles and qi gathering pellets were all found here. Lin Yi said, let's go find the stuff first, and then pay our respects to Master Zhang. What do you think? All right, I'll listen to you. Boss Bai wanted to pay his respects to Master Zhang first, but he knew that Lin Yi was worried about his constitution, and so he wanted to find the book on constitution first. In terms of seniority, Lin Yi was Zhang Liju's disciple, and Boss Bai was a disciple of many generations. Although Lin Yi respected him as his master, Boss Bai didn't dare to ask too much of Lin Yi. Then let's go and have a look, Lin Yi said as he walked forward with Boss Bai to the bookshelf they had been to before. He then said to Boss Bai, Master Bai, take a look and see if there's anything on it. Lin Yi took a quick glance at the bookshelf and didn't see Zhang Liju's medical notes, but he didn't know if there was a record of Zhang Liju's strange happenings. Lin Yi didn't have any recollection of such a book. Boss Bai nodded and searched carefully on the bookshelf. From the beginning to the end, he did not let go of the titles on the spines of every book. There weren't many books on it. It wouldn't take Boss Bai much time to read them from the beginning to the end. After reading them, Boss Bai shook his head and said, No. Oh, then let's go to the showroom again. Lin Yi didn't have much hope. He just wanted to start from the beginning. Just as they were about to leave, Xiaoka exclaimed, what's wrong? Xiaoka? Lin Yi turned around and looked at Xiaoka. Someone touched this bookshelf. Xiaoka pointed at one of the books at the bottom of the shelf. He said, What? Someone touched it? Lin Yi felt a chill run down his spine. Although Lin Yi was a practitioner and wasn't afraid of ghosts, he couldn't say that it didn't exist. However, it couldn't be said that this thing didn't exist. Otherwise, where did the damn thing in the jade come from? Yes, Xiaoka said solemnly. This bookshelf probably hasn't been touched for thousands of years, so there's a layer of dust on the spines. But look, below this book, Lin Yi and Boss Bai bent down at the same time. They looked at the book Xiaoko was pointing at, and as expected, on the empty wooden shelf in front of the book, there was a mark of someone moving it. There was a mark of someone moving it. Because there was a layer of dust everywhere, only the front of this book had a vertical groove. Someone must have pulled out the dust from the front of this web page recently and removed it. Seeing this, Boss Bai didn't feel anything, but Lin Yi felt a chill run down his spine. This tomb. Did someone else come here? When they first came here, no matter if it was Xiaoka, Old He, or Yu Huixing, none of them touched the books. Yu Huixing checked the names on the books carefully, but didn't touch them. Lin Yi remembered this clearly, but now, there was a book here that had been moved from the marks. This book had been put back no more than 3 months ago. This could be seen from the markings on it, so it couldn't be from the last time they came. The only explanation was that someone else came in, took this book, and put it back. But what was the purpose of doing this? Xiaoka's breathing quickened as well. The few people who knew about this were all captured and sentenced to death. She and the male thief definitely didn't come back. Could it be Yu Huixing or the female thief? Lin Yi thought of Yu Huixing as well, but this person was as cowardly as a mouse. There was no reason for him to come back alone. Plus, everything was taken last time, so what was the point of him coming back? Plus, Lin Yi heard that Yu Huixing was under house arrest by the Hidden House Yu. Even if he wanted to come out, there was no chance. Whatever. Let's see what this book is first, Lin Yi said. Xiaoka took the book out, and Lin Yi kept an eye on the jade. Luckily, there was no movement, which meant that there was no danger. Lin Yi was most afraid that this book was a trap set up by someone else to lure people in. This was a book written by a wandering doctor, but when Lin Yi flipped to the first page, he realized that something was different. This book was indeed a record of strange stories of wandering doctors, but the empty space in the book was filled with handwriting, all of it in tiny handwriting. It was the same handwriting as the one in Zhang Liju's Elixir Refiner's notes. Evidently, this was written by Zhang Liju as well. This is it. This is the record of strange tales of the patriarch. Boss looked at the book in Lin Yi's hands excitedly and pointed at the words on it. Master Zhang added on to someone else's records of strange happenings, giving his own unique insights, and the problem of a refiner's physique was mentioned in this records of strange happenings at the very beginning. It's normal for Master Zhang Liju to add to it after reading it. Chapter 2695. If this watch net was taken away, then this time, even if they turned the tomb upside down, they would not be able to find what they wanted. Let me see the problem about your physique now. While talking, Boss Bai did not waste any time. He took out the flashlight and carefully read the content of the Chronicle of Peculiar Tales. Lin Yi and Yu Xiaoka did not dare to disturb him. They quietly waited on the side, waiting for Boss Bai's result.
Time passed very slowly at this time.
Although Lin Yi only waited for half an hour, it felt like half a day. Finally, Boss Bai put down the book, nodded heavily, and said to Lin Yi, "In this note, the Grandmaster explained the problem about the physique of a cultivator in detail and gave the way to verify it."
Oh?
What do you mean? Lin Yi asked quickly. The physique of a cultivator is divided into 3 types: true attribute, false attribute, and false attribute. The true attribute is an inborn attribute. No matter how many attributes there are in the body, they can be well integrated and circulated. This is inborn, so there will not be any conflict between each attribute. Even if there is a conflict, it will also form a cycle in the body and will not bring any trouble to the cultivator. Boss Bai said. True attribute, false attribute, false attribute? Lin Yi pondered for a while and thought of Bing Tang's false ice heart jade bone physique, so he hurriedly told this to Boss Bai. Is this the false attribute mentioned in the book? Yes, this is the false attribute. Boss Bai nodded and said, this attribute is also inborn. It exists in the body of a cultivator when he is born. However, before this attribute is activated, it will not cause any impact or conflict with the real attribute in the body. When it is activated, it can be activated with the corresponding elixir. For example, the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir can be used to activate this branch of the water attribute, which is the ice attribute. After activation, the false attribute is no different from the real attribute. If the cultivator has other attributes in the body, there will not be any conflict, and these attributes will form a new cycle. I see. What about the false attribute? Lin Yi suddenly understood. No wonder the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill was so important to Bing Tang. It turned out that it could change the physique, turning the fake Ice Heart Jade Bone physique into the real Ice Heart Jade Bone physique. The so-called virtual attribute is that the cultivator's body doesn't have this attribute in the beginning, but through the consumption of the corresponding elixir or the cultivation of some special mental cultivation method, the attribute produced in the body is called virtual attribute. Boss Bai said, for example, a person with the wood attribute will have the fire attribute after taking a scorching fire pill, and he can become an alchemist, as long as there are no more than 3 attributes in his body. There would be no mutual restraint, and there would be no cycle. The illusory attribute and the true attribute can coexist. Oh, in other words, the attributes in my body are all virtual attributes? Lin Yi was stunned. But I haven't taken any elixirs that can change my physique, right? I'm not sure about that, but it says that the attributes inside the body can be tested through a treasure to see if they are real, false, or virtual. Boss Bai said, however, it seems that the attributes inside the body are not real. There's no doubt that your body has the phantom attribute. Lin Yi nodded. Could it be that his phantom attribute was increased by the art of dragon mastery? This was the only way to explain it. He hadn't taken any elixir that could change his physique. As for the mental cultivation method, there was only this one, so it seemed to be the case. Is there any mention of the solution to the phantom attribute? Lin Yi asked. There is, but there's no mention of the method. It's only mentioned a little. The specifics are all left in the sex library. Boss Bai said with some regret. The 5 elements sex library? Lin Yi listened to Boss Bai's words and asked with a slight sigh. That's right. But with my current identity, there's no way to go back and check. Boss Bai said apologetically. I understand that. Lin Yi nodded. If Boss Bai went back, it was likely that he couldn't come back alive. So, Lin Yi couldn't let him take the risk. What about the solution? Accept the inheritance. Boss Bai said, under special circumstances, the phantom attribute can accept the inheritance. Whichever attribute in the cultivator's body is the phantom attribute, he can go to the origin of this attribute and stimulate it. If he can stimulate the origin of this attribute, he can receive the inheritance and directly upgrade the phantom attribute in the body to the real attribute. Oh, that means I have to accept the inheritance like rock candy? Lin Yi asked with some surprise. Yes, but their inheritance means that they have the real attribute or the pseudo-attribute. They don't need to upgrade their attribute. They can directly accept the inheritance and obtain the origin power. But you're different. You need to use a special method, similar to a formation, to stimulate the origin of the attribute in the origin of the attribute, so as to change and upgrade the attribute of your physique. Boss Bai explained, it's just that I don't have this method in the 5 elements sex library. There's also no specific mention in this record of strange stories. Phew, Lin Yi let out a long sigh. He came to the ancient tomb with a heart full of joy, but in the end, he found out the problem of the physique. In the 5 elements sect, it was impossible for Lin Yi to obtain the method to change the physique. Don't be too disappointed. With the speed of your strength growth, the day when we return to the 5 elements sect may not be too far away. Boss Bai patted Lin Yi's shoulder and comforted him. Well, I understand. Lin Yi nodded. He wouldn't be able to concoct pills without Boss Bai's news, and he wouldn't be able to change his body's constitution, but it was still hard to accept the fact that hope was dashed. According to Mr. Bai, as long as I find this method, I can definitely successfully change the physique? Lin Yi asked. That's not necessarily the case. Changing one's physique is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if 2 people with virtual attributes stand together to accept the legacy, one of them might fail, or both of them might fail. Boss Bai said. Can both of them succeed? Lenny asked. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.